This is a world of magic. Everyone can use magic, and it has become an indispensable part of their lives. But in any world, there are always exceptions. The young man lifting weights extremely fast is that exception. Even the beasts around him are terrified. His name is Mash Burndeed. Mash's favorite food is cream puffs. And he cannot use magic. Mash lives in a small house deep in the forest with his father. His father's name is Regro Burndeed. Although he is 75 years old and has much life experience, he has never seen anyone break a door open like this, making him angry. Because Mash never knows how to control his strength, Mash says he will fix the door, immediately shocking Regro. Because of Mash's bizarre way of fixing doors, he even made the door break, leaving Regro helpless. At this moment Mash asks his father why he always has to do physical training, making Regro unable to explain. Because his son is not like others, he cannot use magic. So Regro avoids Mash's question and goes outside. And he tells Mash to learn how to open a door. Before Regro leaves, he warns Mash not to go into the city. So Mash promises he won't go anywhere. But as soon as Regro leaves, Mash immediately runs straight into the city. Because he cannot live without cream puffs. Mash is now in the city. He sees everyone using magic. Then he goes to a shop to buy cream puffs. Unexpectedly, the coins were bent by him because he was too excited, shocking the shop owner. So Mash uses his hands to straighten the coins, making the shop owner even more shocked. Suddenly everyone around starts paying attention to Mash, because he doesn't have a magic mark on his face. Mash has bought the cream puffs, but he doesn't understand why everyone is looking at him. And he remembers his father told him not to enter the city. Suddenly he bumps into a drunken police officer, angering the officer. But Mash calmly asks if he wants a cream puff. However, the officer becomes even angrier, because Mash dirtied his police uniform. Unexpectedly Mash tears the man's shirt. Turns out Mash only intended to wash it for him. Suddenly the officer's commander appears. His name is Brad, and Brad notices that Mash is someone without a magic mark, surprising him, as Brad is about to interrogate Mash. Luckily Mash's father appears and takes him away. Brad realizes this is his chance for promotion, so he creates a bird to follow them. Meanwhile, Regro is furious, because Mash sneaked into the city. So Mash sincerely apologizes, making Regro unable to scold him anymore. So he punishes Mash by making him redo the morning training. When Mash is about to go out the door, Regro opens it for him, because he is afraid Mash will break it again. At this moment Regro feels Mash is very obedient, even though he is at a rebellious age. It turns out Regro lives here with Mash to protect him, because he cannot let anyone discover Mash. Suddenly the police find their house, delighting Brad. He wants Regro to hand Mash over. Meanwhile Mash is training in the forest. He trains at a terrifying speed, scaring the wild beasts. After finishing his training, Mash returns home. Suddenly he hears Brad and Regro's conversation. It turns out this magical world can prosper, because they eliminate those who cannot use magic. Brad keeps forcing Regro to surrender Mash, but Regro refuses, making Brad furious and repeatedly torturing him. Regro remembers his past. His mother always scolded him, because his magic was too weak. So everyone saw him as a failure, making him lose hope in life. When he was about to end his life, suddenly he heard Mash crying. He discovered the child had no magic mark, so he had been abandoned. Suddenly Mash smiled at him. From that day on he decided to raise Mash. Even though they are not related by blood, Regro will always protect Mash. He shouts for Mash to run, making Brad furious. So Brad decides to deal with him. Suddenly Mash breaks the door and enters the house, surprising the police. And he easily defeated the two police officers. Regro didn't understand why Mash didn't run. Mash said, "Because we are family." And Mash began challenging Brad, making him burst into laughter. Because Mash had no magic, he would never be able to defeat them. Brad said he would defeat Mash in 3 seconds. And he immediately used his strongest spell. This spell could defeat a dragon, making Regro worried. Unexpectedly Mash was completely unharmed, shocking Brad. It turned out Mash had simply waved his hand to block the attack, making Brad unable to believe it. So Brad decided to try again. Unexpectedly Mash easily blocked it again. He even juggled Brad's magic spheres, making Brad feel insulted. Suddenly Mash borrowed his father's wand. Brad thought Mash could use magic. Unexpectedly Mash threw the wand, destroying Brad's magic circle, shocking Brad, because a wand could be used like that. Suddenly Brad became excited. He proposed a deal to Mash. Every year this country selects one special student. They are called a divine visionary. Brad told Mash to join the magic school and become the chosen one. If he becomes a divine visionary, Mash will be accepted by society. He will even gain wealth and fame. But if Mash refuses, he will become a target hunted by the entire country. Unexpectedly Mash agreed, making Regro extremely worried. It turned out Mash only wanted a peaceful life with his father. The next morning Mash began heading to Easton Magic Academy. This is a famous school in the Magic Kingdom. So many students apply to this academy. But only 3% of them can pass. At this moment Lucci is observing the new candidates. He notices many of them are sons of nobles. And Lucci is a famous professor of the school. Suddenly he sees Mash lifting weights, shocking him. Lucci doesn't understand why the magic exam is about to begin. But Mash is doing physical training here. He even sits on an invisible chair to read. And two men disguised are watching Mash. It turns out they are Regro and Brad. Regro doesn't think Mash can pass, because he has no magic. But Brad believes Mash will succeed. Lucci thinks Mash will be eliminated soon. So he appears and announces to the students. He will supervise today's entrance exam, shocking the candidates, because he is one of the top 7 mages of the kingdom. While everyone admires Lucci, only Mash doesn't care, making Lucci annoyed. He decides he must fail Mash. So Lucci begins the first test. Unexpectedly the first test is a written exam. Surprising everyone, the candidates see the letters on the paper constantly moving, and they must rearrange them into a complete spell. Regro thinks Mash will surely fail. Meanwhile Mash sees the running letters, making him angry enough to break his pen. Unexpectedly all the letters freeze in fear, shocking Regro and Brad. When Mash submits his test, Lucci is also surprised, because the letters are arranged perfectly. And in the following tests, Mash keeps shocking everyone, because he passes them easily. Lucci doesn't know how to eliminate Mash, so he creates a huge maze. And inside it are many traps. The candidates must complete the maze within 30 minutes. Mash feels this test is too easy. Suddenly a girl asks to accompany Mash. Her name is Lemon. She thinks going together will be more effective. So Mash agrees. Lemon keeps triggering traps, making her terrified. So Mash has to keep saving her. He starts doubting whether going together is useful. Suddenly Lemon uses magic to handcuff Mash. It turns out Lemon deceived Mash, because her task was to stall him. Unexpectedly Mash easily breaks the cuffs, shocking her. Then Mash runs ahead. When Lemon tries to chase him, suddenly a giant sphinx appears behind her, making Lemon anxious. So she decides to fight it. But this giant sphinx was too strong, making Lemon worried. She thought this was the consequence of deceiving Mash. When Lemon was in danger, suddenly Mash appeared and punched the sphinx in the face. And he defeated it, surprising Lemon, because Mash saved her. But Lemon realized they didn't have enough time to complete the test. While Lucci thought Mash would be eliminated, suddenly everyone sensed a tremor in the maze. Unexpectedly Mash punched through the walls to escape, shocking everyone. However, everyone objected. They thought Mash had cheated, making Mash disappointed. But Lemon defended Mash. Suddenly Lucci scolded Lemon. It turned out Lucci himself ordered Lemon to stall Mash. So Mash couldn't pass the exam, because Lemon's family was very poor. She was always forced to obey nobles. But Mash saved Lemon, making her want to marry Mash. At this moment Lucci still insisted on failing Mash. So he decided their final test would be fighting him. Unexpectedly Mash broke Lucci's wand, shocking everyone, because he could do it with his bare hands. But Lucci still refused to accept defeat. Suddenly Headmaster Wahlberg appeared. He said that from now on he would supervise the exam. And he told Lucci to come to his office. The headmaster then teleported Mash to the interview room. He asked why Mash chose this academy. Mash said he wanted to live with his family, making the other teachers displeased. But the headmaster knew Mash had saved Lemon, even though he no longer had enough time to finish the test, making the headmaster very satisfied. But the headmaster warned Mash that this world had many beings stronger than him. Suddenly the headmaster released his magic, making everyone fearful, because his magical power was terrifying. But Mash remained calm. He didn't know what magic this was. It turned out this was an ancient spell, allowing the soul of someone Mash loved to be transferred into a puppet, causing Mash's father to faint. Mash realized his father was in danger, so he punched the spear. Unexpectedly, Mash's hand was bleeding. The headmaster said Mash couldn't do anything in this situation. Suddenly Mash used both hands to stop the spear, surprising everyone. The headmaster realized Mash was willing to use his strength to protect others, so he cancelled the spell, and he said he was only testing Mash. However, Mash declared to the headmaster, "If you face me, I will punch you unconscious," making the other teachers furious. But the headmaster was delighted, and he said Mash had passed the academy entrance exam. Mash then began his first lesson. It was unlocking locks with magic, but Mash simply broke the lock with his hands, making the teacher angry, because he didn't use magic. Finn sat next to Mash. He thought Mash was crazy. Outside, another student was observing Mash. At this moment, Finn only wanted to stay away from Mash. Unexpectedly, Mash ended up sharing a dorm room with him. Mash even removed the door. When they began introducing themselves, unexpectedly Mash gave names to his muscle groups, shocking Finn, but they still had to share a room. Mash asked how to become a divine visionary. Finn explained he had to collect gold coins from academy tests, and if his score was too low, Mash would be expelled too, making Mash feel troubled. But Finn encouraged Mash, so Mash invited him to eat cream puffs. The next morning, Mash was getting used to academy life. Even though he didn't use magic, the teacher was teaching how to use a flying broom. While everyone could control their broom, Mash still couldn't make his move. Suddenly another student mocked Mash, so Mash stomped the ground, making the broom fly into his hand. So the student thought Mash was cheating. He challenged Mash to a flying race. The loser must obey the winner. He was still very confident, because he thought Mash couldn't beat him. Unexpectedly, as soon as the teacher signaled the start, Mash instantly teleported to the finish line, surprising everyone, because they didn't see him move. But Finn saw it. Mash threw the broom, then he jumped and rode on it, while the student was angry, because he thought Mash cheated. Suddenly another student came to help them reconcile. Everyone recognized his name was Cavil. They all wanted to stay away from him, while Cavil wanted to be friends with Mash. But Mash misheard his name as Cabbage, making him annoyed, so Cavil told Mash to meet him after class. Then Cavil bullied the student, because he lost to Mash. He even beat him unconscious. Finn told Mash Cavil was the son of a high-ranking member of the Bureau of Magic. If Mash opposed Cavil, he would be expelled, so many students feared Cavil. Mash was making cream puffs in the kitchen. He remembered his father, so he decided to become the top student of the academy no matter what. Suddenly he realized he forgot something. It turned out Cavil was still waiting for Mash in the schoolyard, making him furious. The next morning, Mash saw his book torn. Finn realized it was Cavil's followers. Suddenly Cavil came to blame Mash, because Mash made him wait yesterday. Then Cavil made Mash an offer. If Mash obeyed him, he would put in good words for Mash to the vice principal. Unexpectedly, Mash immediately agreed, making Cavil pleased, so he told Mash to carry his things, then polish his shoes and do many other tasks. Mash's book continued to be damaged, so Mash wanted to read together with Finn, but Finn just wanted to stay away from Mash. Suddenly Mash gave Finn cream puffs, and said Finn was his good friend. Surprising Finn, Cavil continued looking for Mash. Suddenly he spilled a cup of water on the floor, and Cavil told Mash to clean it. Unexpectedly Mash still did it. He even polished the floor until it shone. Cavil then continued bullying Finn. He threatened, if Finn didn't obey, he would be expelled, but Finn refused to obey anymore, making Cavil angry, so he tied Finn up. Then he beat him. Mash happened to walk by. He saw Finn being bullied by Cavil. Mash didn't understand what was happening. Finn confessed to Mash. He was the one who ruined Mash's book, and he didn't want to obey Cavil anymore, because Mash treated Finn as a good friend. Finn didn't want to keep doing bad things to Mash, while Cavil continued tempting Mash. He promised to speak well of Mash to the vice principal, but Mash was very angry. He grabbed Cavil's hair and smashed his head into the ground. knocking him unconscious, shocking everyone. Finn said this would get him expelled. But Mash didn't care. Suddenly Vice Principal Farman appeared. He scolded Mash for using violence in the academy. Farman said he would call a council meeting to punish Mash and Finn. But Cavil wouldn't be punished, because Farman said they belonged to different classes. Unexpectedly Mash immediately attacked Farman, shocking everyone, making Farman furious. When he tried to attack Mash, Mash punched him in the face again. He even tried to bury Farman in the ground. Mash threatened Farman. If Farman ever did anything that affected him, Mash would bury him anytime, making Farman terrified. The headmaster later met Mash privately, because he attacked Cavil and buried Farman. The Bureau of Magic demanded Mash be expelled immediately, and Cavil was the son of a high-ranking Bureau member. However, the headmaster burned the Bureau's notice, because he disliked a world where power and money were used to oppress others. So he liked Mash's personality, and he wanted someone like Mash to become a divine visionary. The headmaster explained, if Mash wanted to become a divine visionary, he had to rank first in the academy, and he had to collect gold coins through school activities. But Mash felt sleepy, because he was overwhelmed with information. So the headmaster promised to help him deal with Farman. Mash's mission is to collect as many coins as possible. At that time, the news of Mash defeating Cavil and the vice principal spread across the school. So he became famous. The next morning, a second-year student named Tom came looking for Mash. He wanted Mash to represent Adler Dorm in the Duello tournament. But Mash didn't know what Duello was. It turned out it was a flying broom sport. Even though Mash said he couldn't ride a broom, Tom still forced him. The next morning Mash was forced to join the match. When the match began, everyone flew into the air. But Mash still stood on the ground. While everyone was enjoying themselves, Mash only wanted to go home, because he couldn't use magic. Finn and Lemon were worried for Mash. Suddenly Tom scolded Mash, because he couldn't feel Mash's fighting spirit. Tom told Mash to be like bamboo, able to survive any harsh condition. Then Tom explained Duello's rules to Mash. Players must grab the ball in the air and throw it through a ring to score. However, they cannot use any magic except broom riding. Tom said he had bet everything on this match, and he believed in Mash. When Tom continued the match, he was struck down by an opponent, making everyone worried, because the opponent's team was already leading by 4 points. Tom realized he had broken a bone. He scolded the opponent for cheating, but the opponent kept provoking them. Tom thought their team would lose, because they didn't have much time left, but he still trusted Mash. At that moment the opponent's score kept rising. They thought they would win. Suddenly Mash made up his mind. He grabbed the broom and jumped, surprising everyone. They thought Mash could fly, but he was only hovering by kicking his legs rapidly. Mash told his teammate to throw the ball to him. The opponents thought he couldn't do anything, but Mash hurled the ball at incredible speed, and he scored, shocking everyone. But Mash's team was running out of time. Unexpectedly the ball flew back into Mash's hand. It turned out he had spun the ball extremely fast, making it return to him. Mash then kept scoring continuously, leaving everyone speechless, because Mash looked like he was playing alone. In the end he scored 999 points, astonishing everyone, helping Mash's team win overwhelmingly. Afterwards Mash was awarded a silver coin. Finn felt happy for Mash. Suddenly Tom came to him. He thanked Mash for helping him win. That night, a student saw Mash's information in the newspaper. It annoyed him, so he decided to make Mash his next target. The next morning Mash's group was getting closer to each other. Suddenly that student came looking for Mash. Tom and Lemon recognized him as Lance Crown, the top scorer of the entrance exam. So Lemon admired him. Suddenly Lance challenged Mash. He took out a magic jar, and it trapped Lemon's group inside, making them worried. Lance said if Mash wanted to save them, he had to follow him into the forest. Mash now faced Lance. Lance used 2 silver coins to bet with Mash, surprising Tom. He realized Lance had 2 magic mark lines on his face, showing that his magic was very strong, because most people only have 1 line. However, a rare few have more lines. Their appearance rate is 1 in 100,000. Lance said they would fight until only one remained standing. Lance believed he would win, because he had observed Mash during the entrance exam. While Lance thought Mash was scared, Mash told him to shut up and fight. making Lance excited, so he used magic to clear the surrounding trees. Creating an arena, Mash began to attack, but Lance used gravity magic to pin Mash to the ground, making everyone worried. While Lance thought Mash was too weak, he said Mash didn't deserve a silver coin. Lance said no one could move under his gravity. Unexpectedly, Mash punched the ground and ripped a tree out of the earth, surprising Lance. Mash continued attacking Lance, even though Lance kept using his gravity magic. But Mash was still able to attack. This surprised Lance. Lance accidentally dropped his pendant. Mash saw that inside it was a photo of a little girl. So Mash thought Lance was a lolicon. But Lance denied it and told Mash to give it back. Suddenly, Lance asked Mash what was the most important thing in this world. But Mash only answered, cream puffs. This made Lance angry, because he believed the most important thing was his little sister. At that moment, Lance prepared to drop the jar off the cliff, making all three of them anxious, because Lance intended to attack Mash, while Mash was saving his friends. It turned out Lance was ready to become a demon for his sister. At that moment, Lance remembered his sister. She was always worried about Lance, because he often got into fights. But she knew her brother was a kind person. Until one day, Lance's sister contracted a terminal illness, which would cause her magic mark to disappear in 5 years. So Lance's parents decided to hand her over to the government. But Lance refused to accept this. He realized the Bureau of Magic was a corrupt system. So Lance was determined to become a divine visionary, so he could save his sister. At that moment, Lance dropped the jar off the cliff. He even used magic to accelerate it. Meanwhile, Mash finished warming up. He immediately took a starting position, surprising Lance. Mash unexpectedly ran at an incredible speed, and he returned with the jar in his hand. Lance couldn't believe it, because Mash was too strong. But Mash told him to stop, because Mash realized Lance wasn't a bad person. It turned out the jar Lance dropped was completely empty. Then Mash moved extremely fast and took back the real jar. But Lance didn't understand why Mash didn't continue so he could get his silver coin. But Mash said he wasn't good at making rational decisions, which reminded Lance of his sister. So Lance decided to give up and leave. However, he still gave Mash his silver coin. At that moment, Lemon's group had escaped, making them all very happy. Easton Magic Academy has 3 dormitories: Adler, Orca, and Lang. They are all rivals. Mash and Finn were currently in Adler dorm. They learned that 5 silver coins were needed to exchange for 1 gold coin. Mash felt that today was unusually peaceful. Suddenly Finn remembered, if they didn't submit their potion assignment today, they would be expelled from school, making both of them panic. Suddenly, Lance came to find them. He scolded them for being lazy, and Lance said Mash was ruining Adler dorm's reputation. Suddenly, Mash took Lance's pendant, and he showed Lance the photo of his sister, making Lance collapse, because she was too cute. So Lance decided to help them with their potion assignment. He immediately took out a mandragora. Lance explained, if they could make it quiet, it would become a high-grade potion ingredient. So Lance demonstrated for them. He used magic to put it to sleep. Then it was Mash and Finn's turn. But no matter what Finn did, it wouldn't stop screaming. When it was Mash's turn, it screamed even louder. So Lance began teaching Finn. He told Finn to release his magic gently, as if he were caressing it. This time Finn succeeded, making him very happy. Meanwhile, Mash made the mandragora angry. It even grew larger. It immediately attacked Mash, but Mash slapped it in the face, knocking the mandragora unconscious. Then Lance continued instructing them. Very quickly, he finished brewing the potion, surprising Finn. Mash felt this was quite simple, so he started brewing as well. Unexpectedly, he created cream puffs, so Lance instructed him again. But Mash still made cream puffs. Shocking Lance, he realized that besides fighting, Mash was completely useless. Suddenly Lance declared to Mash, next time he wouldn't lose to Mash, because Lance had a reason to enter the Bureau of Magic. After that, they continued making potions. Meanwhile, the headmaster wondered how Mash was doing. At that moment, there was a student named Barrett. He had just defeated the people who picked a fight with him. Barrett scolded them, saying they were just side characters. Over at Lang dorm, Abel was ordering his subordinates to collect coins. At that moment, Mash was tasting the cream puffs he made. They thought it was delicious. The next morning, Mash's class had an outdoor lesson, so the students gathered in the forest. Barrett arrived as well. He saw Mash's group paying attention to him, which annoyed him, because Barrett saw Mash as nothing more than a side character, and he believed he was the main character. Suddenly, Lemon also arrived, but she only paid attention to Mash, making Barrett overshadowed. So Barrett released his anger, because any girl paying attention to him would upset him. Barrett was determined to join the Bureau of Magic to get rid of handsome guys. At that moment, the teacher arrived. He said that the Adler and Lang dorms would have a match. Their mission was to defeat scorpions and bring back the stones for him. Most would be exchangeable for bronze coins, but some scorpions were strong enough to exchange for silver coins. Rectangular stones could be exchanged for silver coins. As soon as the match began, Barrett and Lance said they wouldn't lose to Mash. Suddenly, a student appeared behind Mash. He said Mash was thinking too highly of himself. He even attacked Mash. Fortunately, the teacher stopped him. Otherwise, he would have been beaten badly by Mash. After provoking Mash, he left. Lance said his name was Silva. He was willing to attack anyone he didn't like, even if that person was a teacher. But Mash only cared about the cream puffs in his bag. Luckily, they weren't damaged. Then Mash and Lance entered the forest. Lance noticed someone was following them. Unexpectedly, Mash got lost. Suddenly, Mash encountered Barrett, surprising him, because he actually met Mash here. When Barrett was about to fight Mash, they suddenly saw a girl in danger. So Barrett defeated the student to save her. The girl thanked Barrett, shocking him, because she was extremely beautiful. So Barrett tried to act cool. But when she held his hand, Barrett became flustered again. Meanwhile, Silva had obtained a rectangular stone. Barrett was still trying to stay calm in front of Lauren, but he couldn't do it. Lauren kept acting cute toward Barrett. It turned out she only wanted Barrett to like her, making him lose his composure. When she acted cute toward Mash, her magic unexpectedly had no effect, surprising her, because no man had ever resisted her charm before. So Lauren increased her magic. However, Mash still didn't care. Then Lauren told them Shay was being watched by Silva, which frightened her. Barrett saw Lauren crying, so he decided he would defeat Silva for her. Suddenly, they were attacked. Silva had found them, so Barrett decided to fight him. He continuously used the spell Explom, surprising Silva, and Barrett created a massive explosion. He thought he had already won. Meanwhile, Finn and Lemon found Lance, making them happy, but Lance didn't know if Mash was okay. Barrett believed he had won. Unexpectedly, Silva had blocked the explosion, and he counterattacked Barrett. He accidentally knocked down Mash's cream puffs. While Silva was enjoying himself, he kept mocking them. At that moment, Barrett realized Silva was too strong. He didn't know how to protect Lauren. Suddenly, Silva proposed a deal. If Barrett could endure 5 punches from him, he would spare Lauren, and he would wager a silver coin according to school rules. So Barrett agreed, making Lauren worried. But Silva said Mash also had to endure his 5 punches. Barrett refused, and said he would take Mash's share as well. This amused Silva, so he threw the first punch. It hurt Barrett badly, but he still tried to stand up. Making Silva delighted, he continued to launch the next attacks, making Lauren worried. When Silva unleashed his 9th strike, he saw Barrett was still standing, which surprised him. Turns out Barrett still wanted to protect Lauren and Mash, and he never doubted his daughter's tears. Silva immediately launched the final blow. He thought he had already won. Unexpectedly, Barrett still tried to stand up, surprising Silva. When Barrett told him to keep his promise, Silva scolded him for being a fool. However, Barrett collapsed. He told Mash to take Lauren and run. At that moment, Lauren revealed her true face. She scolded Barrett for being stupid, because he had been fooled by her. Turns out she was on Silva's side. While Silva was laughing at Barrett, Mash threw cream puffs into his mouth. Mash then declared he would take 10 blows from Silva, while Lance was worried about Mash. But Finn and Lemon said he would be fine. However, Lance told them there are 2 types of mages: white mages who specialize in support, and red mages who specialize in combat. Dual-path red mages are very rare. Some are even stronger than Mash. At that moment, Silva continued to mock Barrett. Silva said he hated people like Barrett. When Silva was about to continue tormenting him, Mash punched him in the face. But Silva managed to block it. Silva believed Mash was not his match. He was much stronger than Mash. So Silva began attacking Mash, which delighted him greatly. Unexpectedly, Silva's attack was blocked. At that moment Mash started getting serious. He rushed in and shattered the iron blocks Silva created, surprising Silva. Then Mash punched Silva straight in the face, making him stagger back. Silva couldn't understand. He was a top student of the second year. How could Mash injure him? So Silva angrily attacked Mash. However, Mash delivered a powerful punch to his stomach, causing Silva great pain. He realized things were not looking good. Silva felt Mash was like a monster. Suddenly Mash sat down. Silva didn't understand what Mash wanted. Turns out he wanted to continue receiving all 10 blows from Silva, which shocked him. Everyone felt the pressure radiating from Mash. Mash stepped forward and asked him, "Can you still continue hitting me?" Silva realized, if he took one more hit, he would die, but he didn't know how to escape. Suddenly a giant scorpion appeared. Silva saw the star-shaped stone on its forehead. He knew this scorpion was worth more than 1 silver coin. So Silva planned to run away, while Mash would fight it. Unexpectedly Mash defeated the scorpion with a single blow, making it disappear, throwing Silva into despair. Mash found him pitiful. Suddenly Mash looked toward Lauren, making her nervous. So Lauren pretended to be pitiful and cried. Unexpectedly Mash hugged her. Lauren thought she had succeeded, but Mash suddenly performed a suplex on her, because Mash supports gender equality, surprising Barrett. In the afternoon Mash met Lemon's group. When they learned Mash defeated Silva, they were delighted, while Barrett felt defeated, because he had been deceived by Lauren. Suddenly Lemon checked on Barrett. He found her too cute, making Barrett lose control again. After that Barrett thanked Mash, even though thanking someone was hard for him. Lance then told Mash, Lang Dormitory was hunting Adler's coins. That was why Silva provoked them. Lang Dormitory belonged to the upper class, so they would do anything to stop commoners from entering the Bureau of Magic. And the coin war with Magia Lupus had begun. Mash then exchanged 5 silver coins for 1 gold coin, making Barrett's eyes dazzled. But Mash didn't know how the school's dormitories were sorted. Finn said they had been assigned from the beginning. Turns out before students enrolled, the teachers had the students touch the head of the skeleton unicorn, and it would assign them to their dormitory. It turned out it could read people's thoughts. However, when it was Mash's turn, it only saw cream puffs, surprising the skeleton unicorn, because this was the first time it had encountered such a case. So it let Mash into the Adler dormitory. That was why Mash was in this dormitory. At that moment Lance continued explaining. Magia Lupus was a group of 7 students, and Silva was also one of its members. So Lance told Mash to stay away from Lang dormitory. The next morning Mash was lost. He didn't know where his classroom was. So Mash planned to enter a random room. Meanwhile, Silva was apologizing to his leader. However, Abel had never placed any expectations on Silva, and he collected coins to control this world, because he was of noble blood. Abel only saw Silva as a disposable pawn. Afterwards, Abel turned him into a puppet. It turned out Abel's goal was to become a divine visionary, and he called the doll in his hand, Mother. Suddenly Mash entered the wrong room. He even broke the door. Mash asked Abel, "Do you realize you are talking to a doll?" At that moment Abel realized. Mash was the one who defeated Silva and had the gold coin. Abel asked, "Why do you want to become a divine visionary?" Mash replied, "I just want to live peacefully with my father." However, Abel said Mash was lost, because he thought the divine visionary was a noble lineage of gods. So Mash was unworthy of it, and Abel would restore society to its true nature, because he hated the weak, because they were always protected and fought for equality. Meanwhile, Abel saw himself as a superior being, and the strong devouring the weak was the law of nature. Mash misunderstood Abel wanted to live in peace, freezing everyone in place. They thought Mash was mindless, but Abel took it as a declaration of war. Suddenly Abel used the puppet to attack Mash, but he easily dodged and defeated it. Thanks to that, Silva returned to his human form. Abel continued using another puppet, and it took Mash's gold coin for Abel. Afterwards it pushed Mash back. However, Mash accidentally stepped on Silva, so he decided to bring him to the infirmary first, because he thought it was more necessary. But Mash declared, "No matter how strong you are, I will not lose," surprising the members of Magia Lupus. Then Mash left. Abel thought Mash was overconfident, but he felt something was off. Abel discovered the gold coin in hand was the button of the puppet, surprising him. It turned out when the puppet shot the coin, Mash had bitten the puppet's button and quickly pulled it out. Then Mash used his lungs to suck the coin back. So Abel found Mash very interesting. At that moment Mash brought Silva to the infirmary. When he woke up, Silva saw Mash training, which surprised him. Silva realized Mash was the one who brought him here. He didn't understand why Mash would save an enemy. Mash said he didn't want anyone to get into trouble. Afterwards Mash left. At that moment Lance and Barrett came to Mash's room. But Barrett didn't like Lance, because he was too handsome. Lance also didn't like rude people like Barrett. When they were about to fight, Finn got worried. Fortunately, Mash returned, so they calmed down. Lance said they needed to plan to search for coins. Suddenly Lemon came to inform them. She would lead them to the magic scale. Currently Lang Dormitory had 15 gold coins, while their Adler Dormitory only had Mash's 1 gold coin, which made Lemon worried, because if Lang continued like this, they would have 1 divine visionary, while Orca Dormitory only focused on research. So only Adler Dormitory could stop Lang. Barrett saw Lemon calculating very skillfully, but she only focused on Mash. At that moment they decided to work together to surpass Lang Dormitory. However, Mash was being made to clean the bird cages. It turned out the principal had punished him, but Mash saw there were too many birds. Suddenly Lance came to help him. He explained, Lang was after Mash's coin, so they would hunt them. At that moment, 2 members of Magia Lupus were hunting coins. They were Anzer and Allure. It turned out that their target was Mash, while Mash was taking care of the birds. Suddenly, Allure created a puddle for Mash to fall into. It turned out he was the 6th member of Magia Lupus. Anzer was the 7th member. At this moment, they wanted to fight Mash and Lance, so they took out the golden coin to place a bet. Suddenly, Allure transformed into a shark, and he sank quietly, while Anzer was fighting Lance. He attacked him. Lance realized that his magic was controlling shurikens. When Lance intended to use gravity magic, he noticed the birds around, so Lance couldn't use his magic, because his younger sister loved cute animals very much. Anzer continued using 2 shurikens. Lance saw the birds behind him, so he couldn't dodge. At this moment, Anzer started teasing Lance, because he was too weak, which annoyed Lance. Anzer said that he liked to oppress the weak, so that he could feel superior. Suddenly, Lance dropped a blade into a bag of food. Anzer didn't understand what he was doing, so he attacked, but this time Lance didn't dodge. It turned out he had lured the birds closer to the bag of food, and he was able to use gravity, which surprised Anzer. At this moment he realized, Lance wasn't attacking because of the birds, so he used his strongest magic, but Lance used gravity to pin him down. Anzer didn't understand why they both had 2 scars on their faces, but the gap in their strength was too big. Lance explained, he fought for his sister, and those who only fight for themselves, like Anzer, could not resist Lance's determination to save his sister. While Allure thought Mash couldn't escape his sea, suddenly something swam past him very quickly, which shocked Allure. It turned out Mash was practicing swimming, and he thanked Allure for helping him learn to swim. Allure thought he was the hunter, but he became the hunted, so Allure decided to use all his power. He transformed into a bigger form, but Mash charged at him, and defeated him easily. At this moment, Mash and Lance had won, so they took the golden coin. Mash felt it was too easy. Suddenly another person appeared. Surprisingly, he moved very fast, which shocked them. Even Lance couldn't use his magic, but Mash took a starting stance. He dashed in front of him. However, he managed to dodge. It turned out Abyss's mission was only to return the failed members. When he trapped them in a jar, Abyss said they would meet again soon and left. Lance realized that defeating Magia Lupus was very worthwhile. At this moment, Abyss noticed that his mask had been damaged. He realized Mash did it without any supportive magic, so Abyss thought Mash was like him. At the Orca dormitory, Abyss was hunting Rhodes. He was a master of using magma. However, he was also defeated by Abyss and had a golden coin taken. The next morning, Lance explained to Mash about Magia Lupus. They were all top members of the school. If they were on the defensive, it would be very disadvantageous. So Lance suggested they proactively steal their coins. But Mash was only focused on making cream puffs. Later, Lance gave Mash the dormitory cloak. This would help them identify which dorm they belonged to. Suddenly, Lemon announced, something happened to Tom, so they went together to the infirmary. They didn't know what happened to Tom, but he couldn't remember anything either. Tom only remembered being trapped in a dark box. That made him exhausted. Even Tom couldn't use magic, as if his magic had been drained by someone. Lance saw that there were many students here, and they also temporarily lost their magic like Tom. At this moment, Lemon also worried about Mash, so she gave Mash a lucky charm she made herself. She called it Creamy, which made her very embarrassed. Lemon hoped Mash would carry it always, so he could remember her. In the evening, Mash's group was walking around the school to find Magia Lupus. Lance didn't understand why Finn and Barrett were also here. It turned out Finn was afraid of being alone, so Mash led them along. Suddenly, they saw Lemon, which made Barrett very happy. But Lance felt something strange. It turned out she had been turned into a puppet. Fortunately, they managed to hide in time. Lance thought Lemon had been hit by some magic, so they began to follow Lemon. Unexpectedly, they reached a dead end. Finn and Barrett thought they had lost track of her, but Lance discovered a door beneath the floor. At this moment, they didn't know how to open the door, so Barrett tried to attack it, but the door was unharmed. Suddenly, Mash brought an armor set. He punched the floor. Unexpectedly, the door cracked open, so Mash used the armor and sword as a lever. He stomped hard on the ground, causing the door to fly out of the academy. Surprising Finn and Barrett, Lance realized Lemon was below. Mash grabbed the amulet she had given him, so Mash was determined to save Lemon. At this moment, they descended into the basement. They hadn't realized the academy had a secret basement. Then they arrived at an arena. Suddenly, a student appeared. He said he wasn't a member of Magia Lupus, but he had been asked by Third Fang. He would eliminate intruders here, and they would bet coins for the fight. When Lance intended to fight him, Barrett stepped forward. It turned out he fought because he hated handsome guys, which surprised Shuan, because Barrett was jealous of him. Shuan began to use his magic. On the side of the Bureau of Magic, the minister informed Principal Wahlberg 6 notorious convicts had escaped from Hecatree's prison, and their supporter was Innocent Zero. While Barrett began attacking Shuan, but Shuan easily blocked Barrett's strike with thorny vines, making Shuan wonder, were these the ones who had defeated Silva, making Barrett embarrassed, because he was beaten badly by him. But Shuan was confident he was much stronger than Silva, which made Barrett amused. He continued attacking Shuan. It turned out Barrett had created traps on the floor. These traps were 5 times stronger than normal. Shuan realized Barrett wanted him to step on them, so he thought he wouldn't be fooled. Shuan attacked and caught Barrett. Thorny vines even sprouted from him, causing Barrett a lot of pain. Shuan was confident he could attack him without moving. When he intended to finish Barrett, unexpectedly, Barrett triggered his trap, causing a big explosion. It turned out the trap was a timed bomb. Then Barrett continued activating the remaining traps. Finally, Barrett defeated Shuan, which made him delighted. Unexpectedly, even though Shuan had lost, he still posed very coolly. Suddenly, they sank into the ground. However, Mash and Lance remained calm, because they knew Magia Lupus wouldn't let them pass easily. At this moment, Lance was taken to another room. Suddenly, he felt pressure behind him. Another member of Magia Lupus appeared. He saw Lance had 2 scars on his face, but he was still disappointed, because he had been looking forward to meeting Mash. Meanwhile, Lance realized the top members of Magia Lupus were very strong. It turned out he was Third Fang, Worth Maddle. On Barrett and Finn's side, they also encountered 2 members of Magia Lupus. The girl was Fifth Fang, Love Cute, and Fourth Fang, Milo Genius, which made Finn very scared. But Barrett scolded him, "Don't give up before you start," because Barrett would show them the hero's aura. Meanwhile, Mash was taken to a dark room. Suddenly, the room lit up, and the one facing Mash was Second Fang, Abyss. He praised Mash's movements that day as very impressive. And Abyss realized Mash couldn't use magic, which worried Mash. He thought his secret had been exposed. But Abyss said, "I am like you," because he had also been rejected by this world. Suddenly, Abyss drew his sword. Mash realized he was challenging him. So Mash decided to fight him. At this moment, Worth spoke to Lance. "The weak do not deserve to exist." Suddenly, Lance used gravity. Unexpectedly, Worth turned into mud. Then he appeared behind Lance. And he created many clones. When Worth attacked, Lance continued using gravity. But all his attacks were useless. Lance realized they were all Worth's clones. So he needed to find the real Worth. Suddenly, he trapped Lance's feet and shot mud bullets at him. At this moment, Worth told Lance to join Magia Lupus. But he could only be ranked last. And he insulted everyone around Lance as trash. Because Worth believed they were the superior ones. Lance would have everything he wanted. However, Lance refused. Because he didn't need to rely on anyone. Lance only considered Worth second rate. Which made him furious. Lance continued using gravity to pin Worth against the wall. But he turned the wall into mud. So he wasn't harmed at all. Suddenly, Lance controlled stones to shoot at him. And he forced Worth to reveal himself. At this moment, Worth was still confident he was strong. Because he was born with 2 scars. Worth had always surpassed ordinary people. And he had joined Magia Lupus. At this moment, Worth couldn't believe he was being overwhelmed by Lance. So he took out a magic potion and drank it. Unexpectedly, Worth's power immediately increased. Then Worth used mud magic. And he created a giant mud demon. It turned out this was a second magic only 2 scar sorcerers could use. Since childhood, Worth had been taught, magic is everything, and those with magical talent have value. So Worth attacked Lance, but he dodged. At this moment, Lance opposed him, calling his friends trash. Because only he had the right to insult them. So Lance also used his second magic. He created gravity pillars, causing Worth's mud demon to be immobilized. Which surprised Worth. Then Lance defeated his mud demon. Worth didn't understand why his strongest magic was defeated. Which reminded him of his past. Worth was always belittled by his father. And his father made Worth prove his worth. At this moment, Lance returned an old book to Worth. He realized Worth had also tried very hard. Because they shared similar circumstances. But Lance always had his sister recognizing his value. So Lance acknowledged Worth too. Which surprised him. Finally, Lance won. On Mash's side, he attacked Abyss, forcing him to retreat. Unexpectedly, Abyss moved very fast, causing Mash to get injured. It turned out Abyss was using Accelerase magic, allowing him to move very quickly, causing Mash to be constantly injured. At this moment, Abyss said their levels were different, and he said he wouldn't go easy on Mash. But Mash remained determined to fight. Suddenly, Abyss showed Mash that Lemon's magic was being drained. In 30 minutes, she would permanently lose her ability to use magic. So Mash said he would smash his mask. Abyss continued attacking Mash at very high speed, and stabbed him in the stomach. Suddenly, Abyss realized he couldn't pull his sword out. It turned out Mash had braced his abs to stop Abyss. Then he headbutted Abyss, causing his mask to shatter. Mash saw his left eye looked strange. Abyss said it was called the evil eye. It could temporarily nullify others' magic. Which made Mash feel guilty. Because Abyss couldn't use the eye on him. It turned out Abyss was destined to be an enemy of sorcerers. So he was always rejected by others. Even by his parents. But Abyss felt Mash was better raised than him. So Abyss also used his second magic. He created a force field around Mash. A red arrow appeared on Mash, slowing his movements. It turned out this force field reduced the opponent's speed. And increased Abyss's speed. So Abyss continuously attacked Mash. He believed Mash could no longer catch him. But Mash punched the ground, causing the floor to shatter. So Abyss was slowed down. Mash continued to break Abyss's sword with punches. When he tried to retreat, Mash stepped on his foot, and delivered a massive punch to Abyss, causing him to fly out of the force field. At this moment, Abyss was surprised, because his second magic had been broken by Mash. Mash continued attacking Abyss, making him realize their levels were completely different. But Abyss still refused to give up. He continued charging at Mash. But Mash caught his sword. and he continuously attacked Abyss. Finally, Mash defeated him. At this moment, Abyss told Mash, since childhood, he was born with the evil eye, which disappointed Abyss's parents, because he was an enemy of sorcerers. So Abyss had always been locked in the basement. Even Abyss's parents wanted him to disappear. Then Abyss thought he was not worthy of being born. Mash said, he was raised better than Abyss. Although he couldn't put himself in Abyss's situation, they could still be friends. Abyss said that was impossible, and he advised Mash not to go further, because he couldn't defeat Abel. But Mash didn't care. He was determined to defeat him. And Mash said to Abyss, even if the world hated that eye of Abyss, Mash's attitude toward him would not change, which surprised Abyss. It turned out that was how Mash's father had raised him. Above them, another student had opened the basement door. Meanwhile, Finn and Barrett were confronting Love and Milo. But Milo left everything to Love. At this moment, she asked them if she looked cute, freezing Finn and Barrett in place. But Barrett apologized to her, because he already considered Lemon his fiancé, which disappointed Love, so she decided to deal with them. Love used magic. Fortunately, Barrett managed to block her attack. He realized the situation was dangerous, because Love was a 2-scar sorcerer, so her magic was stronger than his. At this moment, Love continued asking them, do I look cute? But Barrett still refused. So Love attacked him. She said she would deal with those who didn't know how to love themselves, which angered Barrett. He counterattacked when Love tried to block. Unexpectedly, Barrett was just distracting her, and he intended to steal Love's wands. But Barrett was hit by her, which made Love very happy. She revealed that Milo could turn targets into stone, and Milo was looking for Mash. If Barrett didn't defeat her within 30 minutes, Mash would be turned into a statue. So she continued attacking Barrett, which made her delighted. Meanwhile, Barrett was in a lot of pain, and he remembered his past. It turned out that as a child, Barrett was often bullied, but Barrett's sister always helped him. She told Barrett he had to fight back, but he didn't want to. So Barrett's sister said, if you have true friends, never betray them, which reminded him of Mash, because Mash had once fought for him. At this moment, Love prepared to attack Finn, which scared him. Suddenly, Barrett broke Love's magic, which surprised her. Barrett was extremely angry, because they mocked his friends. Love didn't understand how Barrett could break her magic, so she attacked again. Unexpectedly, Barrett easily blocked her, which surprised Love, because Barrett's magic power had increased very quickly. She noticed the cross-shaped mark on Barrett's forehead. It was a fighting demon that could unleash power when it exceeded a certain emotional threshold. It was called Ira Cruz. So Barrett began using magic. It was 100 times stronger than normal magic, and he attacked Love. Unexpectedly, she was still unharmed. Love realized Barrett intentionally missed his strikes. It turned out he didn't like hitting girls, and Barrett chased Love away, which moved her. Suddenly, Finn was attacked, so Barrett protected him, causing himself to be injured. It turned out Milo had returned. He created stone hands to catch Barrett. Love realized Barrett would be in trouble, because Milo was a prodigy of magia lupus. When Barrett and Finn were in danger, suddenly, a sword attacked Milo, causing him to be injured. They didn't know what was happening. Milo realized his attacker was a divine visionary, Rain Ames. He didn't know why Rain was here, making Milo worried, because Rain was the divine visionary of Adler Dormitory. Suddenly, he ambushed Rain. Unexpectedly, Rain easily blocked Milo's attack, and Rain created many swords. Milo thought Rain was just a student like him. He didn't expect them to be on a completely different level. Love saw Milo being defeated. She wanted to join Adler. At this moment, Milo begged Rain for forgiveness, but he was kicked by Rain, because he wanted to teach him a lesson. Barrett saw him tormenting Milo. He thought Rain was cruel, but Rain told them to leave, so he could gather information from Milo. It turned out Rain was Finn's older brother, and Rain's mission was to investigate Innocent Zero's subordinates. Suddenly, he saw Mash. Rain felt an immense pressure from Mash, so he decided to test Mash. Rain took out a spider to measure magical power. If he was a normal sorcerer, Rain would let him go. Unexpectedly, Rain attacked Mash, but Mash caught his sword. The spider saw Mash had no magic, which surprised it, so Rain continued attacking Mash. However, Mash dodged all attacks. The spider still couldn't detect any magic from him. He realized Mash had no magic. But Rain still wanted to test Mash one more time. He used 10% of his power. Unexpectedly, Mash held Rain's sword, and he used it to block the swords, which surprised the spider. Rain realized he was not a subordinate of Zero. So he asked Mash's name. Rain remembered the principal had mentioned him before, and the principal asked Rain to keep an eye on Mash. So Rain apologized to Mash, and he gave Mash a magical healing cloth. Mash saw the cloth was shaped like a rabbit. He thought it reflected Rain's tastes. At this moment, he knew Mash's target was Abel. If Mash wanted to become a divine visionary, he had to defeat Abel first. But Abel's puppet magic exceeded normal students. So if Mash could defeat Abel, he would become a divine visionary candidate. Rain told Mash to pursue his goal, even if it meant risking his life. Then Rain left to continue his mission. At this moment, Mash reached the final room, and he punched the door, surprising Abel, because Mash always breaks doors to enter. Abel was very impressed, because Mash had defeated Abyss and reached here. So Abel realized Mash was very strong. Abel acknowledged Mash as a superior being, but he didn't understand the world wasn't fair. Abel continued spouting his philosophies. He believed inferior people were trash. So Mash asked, "Those without magic are also trash, right?" Abel said he would eliminate them, which shocked Mash. At this moment, Mash remembered his father. He always cared for and nurtured Mash, even though he was someone without magic. So Mash declared, "We cannot be friends." So Abel attacked Mash. At this moment, Love returned to Abel's room, and she saw Mash fighting Abel, which surprised her. Meanwhile, Abel continuously attacked Mash with his puppet. So Mash used an iron ball to throw at the dolls, like he was playing bowling, which amazed Love, because Mash defeated them all in one strike. At this moment, Mash said, "You think I'm a weak general if I defeat you? Then you are also a weak general." But Abel didn't believe Mash could defeat him, because this world was survival of the fittest. So he used stronger dolls to attack Mash. Unexpectedly, Mash defeated them with a single punch, which surprised Abel. Mash asked where Lemon was. Suddenly, Mash punched himself in the face. It turned out Abel was controlling him. But Abel stopped, because he wanted to do something more interesting. He then controlled a puppet resembling Finn. It turned out Abel had captured him. Finn immediately attacked Mash. Abel told Mash not to strike, otherwise, he would destroy Finn. Unexpectedly, Mash agreed. Abel then made Finn continuously attack Mash, although Mash just stood still. But the axe was broken, which surprised Abel. At this moment, Mash took out his coin. Abel thought Mash would give it to him, but Mash flicked the coin away, helping to cut the control strings on Finn, and the coin returned to Mash's hand. So Abel controlled the strings to catch Mash. He said humans could not resist his threads. Abel would turn Mash into his puppet. But Mash said he would make him regret it, because he dared to touch his friends. Unexpectedly, Mash was too strong. He cut Abel's threads, and Mash rushed forward to kick him in the face. So Abel used another magic, causing Mash to become a puppet. Abel was very pleased, because Mash still lost to him. So Abel took the gold coin from Mash's pocket. Unexpectedly, it was cream puffs. Suddenly, Mash punched him in the face. He didn't remember why he put cream puffs in his pocket. Meanwhile, Abel didn't understand why Mash could still move even as a puppet. Because his magic would block nerve signals to the body. Abel realized it was the spinal reflex. Like when you pull your hand back from something hot. It is a rapid reaction to danger. So Abel couldn't turn Mash into a puppet, because he had an unconscious protection against threats to the cream puffs. Abel considered it as new knowledge learned. So he decided to use his strongest magic. And he summoned a giant puppet. It could turn anything within 100 meters into a puppet. And the person would never return to normal. So he began attacking Mash. Abel was very confident in his giant puppet. Unexpectedly, it was broken, which surprised Abel. He didn't understand why Mash didn't turn into a puppet. It turned out Mash had cut the threads himself. Love had seen everything. When the threads touched Mash, he grabbed them and snapped all the threads, which shocked her. Abel thought Mash was not human. Mash saw him afraid, making Abel angry. He attacked Mash, but Mash smashed the giant puppet, and he moved behind and caught Abel. Then Mash jumped and slammed him to the ground. Thus, Abel was defeated, which reminded him of his mother. His mother was a noblewoman, and she always treated commoners well. But she was stabbed by a commoner, causing Abel's mother to die. So Abel always hated inferior people. At this moment, Abel told Mash everything. He wanted to eliminate the inferior. So Abel formed Magia Lupus. They were all dissatisfied with the world. But Mash didn't care about his philosophies. He asked where Lemon was. Because Abel had lost, he agreed to turn the puppets back into people. Mash realized Abel wasn't entirely bad, because he did everything for his mother. Then Abel returned Lemon to Mash. Finn also returned to normal, making them very happy. At this moment, Mash had collected many gold coins. Then Finn and Lemon thanked Mash. Barrett also arrived, making them very happy, but Abel saw them as just mindless fools. However, they didn't see Lance anywhere. It turned out he had met Rain. He realized Lance didn't belong to this academy. Even Rain's attack was blocked, so he revealed his true face. It turned out he was one of Innocent Zero's subordinates. Rain didn't know his target, so he only said he was looking for something very important, but he hadn't found it yet. At this moment, he decided to deal with Abel, because he had no further use. So Rain attacked him, but he ran away. Suddenly, another person named Jean-Pierre appeared. He would be Rain's opponent. He realized Cell War's power was equivalent to a divine visionary. Mash's group would not be his match. At this moment, Mash's group was still rejoicing, because they had won. Abel and Love didn't know how long their happiness would last. Suddenly, Mash needed to go to the toilet. Finn was also happy, because the students who had been turned into puppets returned to normal. Meanwhile, they didn't know where Lance was. Suddenly, Cell War appeared. He pushed them aside. Cell War continued approaching Abel. He teased him, because Abel had lost so miserably. Suddenly, Cell War controlled both of Abel's hands, causing him to lose control. When he tried to deal with Abel, Mash came and invited everyone to eat cream puffs, which surprised Cell War, because Mash didn't understand the current situation. Suddenly, a fly landed on Mash's nose, causing him to sneeze, making the cream puffs fall onto Cell War. Thanks to that, Abel escaped his control. At this moment, Cell War was very angry. Suddenly, he had a headache. It was a resonance with the person he was looking for. And Cell War realized that person was Mash, which surprised him, so he decided to deal with Abel first. When he controlled and attacked Abel, luckily, Abyss blocked him in time, causing him to be seriously injured. He apologized for not being able to eat cream puffs with Mash. So Mash gave Abyss the healing cloth. At this moment, Cell War realized Mash had thrown a stone at his back, so Cell War's attack was deflected. While Mash was angry, suddenly he stomped on the ground, causing pieces of stone to fly up, and Mash kicked a stone at his face. But Cell War caught it, which amused him, so he wanted to defeat Mash. While Mash only wanted to take Abyss to the infirmary, Cell War said he would give Mash 30 minutes to see if Mash could defeat him. Cell War continuously attacked Mash, causing Mash to be injured. Meanwhile, Abel remembered his mother. He thought they were weak, so they could not defeat Cell War. But Mash was still trying to protect Abel. Although Abel wanted to give up, Mash said Abyss was still trying to survive, because Abel had brought him joy, and Mash wanted them to eat cream puffs with him. So Mash had to save them, which reminded Abel of his mother's teachings. She told Abel to always empathize with others. He would become a better person. Cell War continued attacking. At this moment, Abyss remembered he was always despised, because he had the evil eye. But only Abel needed him. So Abyss told Abel to run, making him feel they were noble. Meanwhile, Mash was still blocking Cell War's attacks, causing Barrett to worry. He didn't know how to help Mash. At this moment, Cell War continued increasing his magical power, causing Mash to be gradually pushed back. Suddenly, Abel summoned a giant puppet, because he realized the weak have the right to resist the strong, which surprised Cell War. But his puppet was destroyed, which pleased Cell War. Unexpectedly, Abel was only baiting him, so Mash could approach Cell War, and Mash punched him in the face, but that only damaged the mask layer. Suddenly, Cell War asked what Mash's magic was, causing Mash to be embarrassed. He said his magic was strength. Everyone realized Mash was lying. So Cell War took out a mirror. It turned out this mirror could reflect any magic, causing Barrett to worry, because it was too dangerous. Cell War was very confident. He told Mash to attack him. Unexpectedly, Mash destroyed the mirror and kicked it at him. At this moment, everyone realized Mash had never used any magic, which surprised them, but Cell War was unharmed. Suddenly, Cell War's hand bore a mark, because he had touched Mash. Cell War was sure Mash was Zero's target. Then he summoned a giant demon and left. At this moment, he introduced his name, and he said they would meet again. When Cell War disappeared, Mash intended to take Abyss to the infirmary. Luckily, he was fine thanks to Mash's cloth. Then Abel took Abyss away, and he promised to repay Mash. At this moment, everyone realized Mash had no magic at all. This made him worried, but they promised to keep Mash's secret. Unexpectedly, another student overheard their conversation. He wanted to report it to the teacher, but Mash remained calm and ate cream puffs. On Cell War's side, he returned to meet his father, and he reported to Zero. He said he had found what they were looking for, which pleased Zero. After the confrontation with Magia Lupus, all of Lang Dormitory now belonged to Adler. However, after the battle with Cell War, rumors that Mash could not use magic spread, but young Mash still believed in himself to handle it. At this moment, Finn recalled, young Charles had promised to report to the principal after seeing everything. And the three of them looked at each other. So they argued, insisting that Mash knew magic. And he accepted that. Charles continued to insist that Mash did not know magic. Mash said, if I can use it, I can use it, repeating this so much that his head almost smoked. Charles said the rumor had now reached everyone. He threatened Finn that if he covered up or hid the truth, he would definitely be expelled. He provoked Finn, while claiming Mash didn't know magic. Finn insisted it was his choice who to play with. Suddenly, he was pinned down by gravity. It turned out Lance had done this. The mischievous ones hadn't understood what happened and got spit on again. It turned out Lemon and Dot had appeared. Lemon felt sorry for Dot, because he had 6 broken ribs, 4 limbs pressed, and many other injuries. A lavish feast was held in room 302 after school, to celebrate victory over Lang Dormitory, as well as preparing the group to become saints. But this party was strange. 2 key members of the opposing side also attended. Abel even brought a puppet to the party. Seeing it, Finn didn't understand what the heck was going on. Not only that, he also brought cards to play poker after the meal. Abel came here to celebrate Abyss recovering, and Abyss affirmed that whoever dared challenge Lord Abel, he would slash them all. Lemon didn't want Abyss to say such things. She invited Abyss to drink tea. The young man trembled but quickly adjusted his attitude 360 degrees. The young man also felt excited after being looked at by a girl. Finn continued to not understand what was happening when the cute girl appeared here. Lemon promised today to serve Mash from A to Z accidentally. A cake fell. The saint pulled it in one go, and the cake went into his mouth automatically. Regarding Lance, after fighting someone from Lang Dormitory, he was detained by several who claimed to be prisoners. Abel and Abyss were playing poker with each other. Finn realized this party was a total mess. After that, Abyss thanked Mash for inviting him to the party today. Abyss mentioned Mash was being targeted by Innocent Zero, a notorious group in this world. In return for helping them, Abel gained power for himself. Finn didn't understand, because afterward, he ended up guiding Abel to get something to forget. Abel's 3rd-tier power was also thanks to Innocent Zero's strength. So the Moss Layer would be much more terrifying than a fake. Abel only borrowed the power to get the coins, but Abyss guessed that the person they were targeting had some connection to Mash. So Abyss predicted they would definitely return. Abyss also knew Magia Lupus would be punished. The goal of creating a world full of good people like Lord Abel's mother. Abyss thanked Mash very much, because Mash made that a reality. Charles continued searching for evidence about Mash, but he was extremely shocked, seeing Mash happily talking with the top 2 of Lang Dormitory. Then, unexpectedly, Abel returned and asked if there were any issues in this room. Without much talking, he activated the 3-step dance immediately afterward. Lemon was curious about the conversation between Abyss and Mash, but it continued as Abyss's shaking display. Mash also received a summoning letter. The next day, Mash stood before the gallows of the Magical Bureau. Mash was severely accused for hiding the fact that he had no magic. This world was created by the gods, the life of all creatures. So magic was also given to humans by them. Therefore, Mash's existence was fundamentally a mistake, and it needed to be resolved quickly. Suddenly, a saint appeared. He was Rio Grants, captain of the Light Guard. He knew the path to success came from personal effort. Rio knew everyone lived by the rules of the majority. So if he satisfied everyone, order would never be maintained. Therefore, Rio wanted Mash to rally the majority to his side, and everything would be resolved peacefully. He summoned a candle using his card. Rio wanted Mash to light it, without being allowed to touch it. Rio wanted to see Mash create a miracle stronger than magic. So he told him to prove it. The old man thought this was absurd for someone without magic. Mash lightly played with his magic. Then Mash used the skill left by the ancestors of humanity. He rubbed his magic against the floor at the speed of light. Then a large flame erupted. The old man was stunned because the floor was made of stone. Then the candle was also lit. Mash also realized Rio's words. Saint Mash promised he would rally the crowd to his side, using his own fists. Rio was very pleased with what Mash said. Suddenly, the remaining saints also arrived. They came with the mission to punish those without magic. For them, the law was absolute, so there would be no exceptions. Suddenly, a wave of sand wrapped around Mash's legs. Then a large sandstorm hit Mash. All the saints appeared as well. Revel, who managed the magical cemetery, was immortal. Caldo managed fire magic talents. Surara managed ice magic research. Safina managed forbidden knowledge spellbooks. Egito managed magical creatures, specifically dragons, and those who had no exceptions to the law also attacked Mash. Order managed the power of the desert magic. Or rather, the desert. They considered this the consensus of all the saints. So Mash was sentenced to death. Mash was extremely shocked. Suddenly, the old man, controlled by Innocent Zero, declared that Mash belonged to Innocent Zero. Innocent Zero had implanted a parasite inside the old man's body. It was considered a very dangerous magical parasite, nourished by mana. If separated from its host, that person would become the next host. Innocent Zero asserted to all the saints that this world belonged to them. Rio realized this was considered a declaration of war against the Magical Bureau. Rio descended and wanted to extract the parasite, but Rio was stopped by Magical Bureau personnel, because Rio would become the next host. Before he could finish his plan, Mash grabbed it. It immediately crawled into Mash's mouth. In less than 5 seconds, Mash vomited it out. It was even shaped like a dog. Mash used his tongue to shape it. Mash successfully saved the old man who was judging him. Mash felt he had finished some important business. Mash left. Rio watched and realized Mash's actions were truly perfect. But Order thought the problem was not yet solved. Without magic, Mash's opinion would be dismissed, because this was the law of this world. So Mash was forced to be taken for punishment. Mash stood stubbornly on the floor. Then Order used the desert magic behind Mash. He was also ready to attack Mash, but Rio stopped him, because Rio had not yet given his opinion. But Order considered this law and didn't need Rio's opinion. Suddenly, a sword appeared. Principal Wahlberg and Rain arrived. Order wondered why the principal called everyone here. Order wanted the incompetent one to receive the harshest punishment, because the law was absolute. The principal asked the saints to postpone Mash's execution, because this was the first time Innocent Zero sent a message. He thought Mash would lead everyone, so they could not lose Mash at this moment. The principal himself had once been a saint, so the saints all respected his words. He was considered a living legend. In his youth, he could fight Innocent Zero one-on-one, so Rio greatly admired him. But Order could not accept this. Suddenly, the principal removed his hat, and admitted that Mash indeed did not know magic. All the saints were quite surprised by this action. Although it was a bit rude and unrefined, he knew Mash had talent to move people's hearts. He firmly believed that someone like Mash would change the world's perspective. Because currently, anyone without magic was seen as inferior in society. So he thought it should be changed. acknowledging the injustices from the past. But Order still didn't want to impose personal opinions on the law. Rain heard this and knelt down, begging. Rain also agreed with the principal's opinion, because Rain knew Mash had proven himself worthy of everyone's trust. But the saints wanted to follow the law strictly. The old man saved by Mash also agreed that the law couldn't be changed. However, after being saved by Mash, he reconsidered. He asked to postpone Mash's sentence. No matter what, he would not change his words. Order, hearing this, had to set a condition. Mash had to be supervised by the saints, and considered a trial candidate against Innocent Zero. He also had to prove he could face Innocent Zero. This would demonstrate the selection of the saint for this year. Failure would definitely mean Mash had to die. Then Mash cut his hand in a blood oath. No, he punched straight into the ground. He resolved to use this fist to strike Innocent Zero. Back home, Mash also told everyone everything. Lance recalled the fight with Mash. Mash hadn't used magic. Truly, he couldn't use magic at all. Dot invited everyone to gear up and hit the streets. Finn thought Dot was worried about Mash. Finn didn't know what everyone was wearing. Dot was already in full armor from head to toe. So Dot came here to fight. Mash also appeared. Mash wore full gym mode, because he had never gone out to play with anyone before. So he had nothing to wear. Lance appeared. Finn was relieved seeing Lance in normal clothes. But underneath was a shirt with a picture of Lance's sister. Finn was stunned for 10 seconds with his 3 friends. Dot said on Marchette Street there was a popular game. It turned out to be the poke the nose of the koala bear game. The koala had a blocked nose, so you poke it to make it sneeze and hit the board for points. Mash wanted to try first. Dot knew new players were inexperienced and might not poke accurately. Before Dot could finish speaking, he was hit by a dart. Next was Dot's turn. Dot retaliated against Mash, so the two of them dove into American wrestling against each other. The group moved on. Lance wanted to try a new magic wand. Lance wanted to use it to prepare for the upcoming Saint Selection exam. Because of Innocent Zero, the event was being held earlier this year. Abel's current coins were enough to qualify for the entrance exam. But for the sake of his sibling, Lance didn't want to give it to Mash. The group then arrived at the wand shop. Inside, there were many kinds of wands. Finn also wanted to find a new wand for himself. He summoned a wand suitable for him. Then the wand automatically flew into Finn's hand. The wand was known to release magic, so it would help the user improve their magical abilities. Next was Lance. He also successfully summoned a wand for himself. The shop owner was quite surprised, because a wand for someone with 2 stripes was very impressive. He also wanted Mash to try. Finn thought if Mash tried, his lack of magic would be revealed. But Mash decided to try. Mash saw a wand on the ground. The owner said it had been there for a very long time. It was so heavy that no one could lift it. It was said that fairy water spurted from beneath it. Wonderful wands could be made from that water. But no muscle or magic had been able to lift it in a millennium. Then Saint Mash stepped up to it. The sea god's spear, lightly raised like Sun Wukong. No, Mash lifted it. Mash also held onto it firmly. The shop owner could only gape at the scene. Thanks to Mash, the group got all the wands for free. Lemon and the captain finally arrived. Then everyone had fun together. Eating, taking photos, shopping, it was very enjoyable. By the afternoon, everyone was exhausted, but Mash felt very happy. Because he had never played like this before. So Mash promised everyone they would continue another day. The group promised to continue next time. Preparations for the basic selection exam were complete. But Mash suddenly asked to go home. Facing Rain, Mash reluctantly said he would stay. But Mash was just saying it for fun. Order was having a meal with a mysterious person, discussing a useless person wanting to become a saint. Order believed the principal was old, so he no longer made proper decisions. Those in power needed to intervene before problems arose. Order insisted Mash shouldn't participate in the saint selection, and the mysterious person was the head of House Orca, Margaret. But Margaret didn't want to follow anyone's orders. He only cared about one thing: stimulation. Order also mentioned that Mash was stronger than the head of House Lang. Abel. Margaret felt it still wasn't enough stimulation. Order pointed out that Mash defeated Abel without using magic. Margaret dropped the shrimp he was eating and stood up after hearing Order. He approached the piano and played a tune. After a while, he concluded that spring would not return. Mash's father was quite moved when Mash returned. Mash's group also arrived. Mash's father didn't expect Mash to have friends, because he had hidden Mash from the world. But Mash brought friends home. Dot introduced himself as Mash's rival. Lemon called him father-in-law, even though the two had never held hands. Dot offered some herbal tea. Lance also had a gift for him. He knew who this girl was. The four of them continued having fun together. He confided in Finn. He had never let Mash go outside before. But now Mash was surrounded by friends. Margaret's group was flying towards Mash. Margaret was eager to find stimulation as soon as possible. Suddenly, many swords appeared from the sky. Margaret and his companions dodged them. Rain appeared. Margaret also knew of the saint. Rain aims. Rain couldn't let him meet Mash. Everyone at Mash's home didn't know what was happening. A few years ago, a tournament was held for junior high students aged 13 to 15. One person defeated everyone. That person was Margaret, also the next head of House Orca. Margaret was thrilled to fight the Saint Rain. He summoned his piano. He began playing. Musical notes flew everywhere. His face looked like he was in the ninth heaven while playing. After the performance ended, he continued with the phrase, "Winter is not cold." He knew that not every strong mage becomes a saint. He considered saints just a title. He wanted to see who was stronger between him and Rain. Thus, their battle began. Rain summoned a rain of swords to attack. Margaret summoned musical notes to counter. Mash's group was playing a board game together. Dot landed on a square and was seduced, losing 5 million Lond. Next was Lemon. She landed on a square that restrained her without killing her, losing 320 turns. Finn was fine. He was given 100 Lond. Lance landed on a square with "Bring sister's boyfriend home," forcing him to return to the starting point. Mash's turn came. He landed on the square, revealing that he couldn't use magic and would be executed. Everyone wanted to stop this evil game. Finn recalled Mash's father's words. He hoped Mash would always exist like this. Finn was determined to help him achieve it. Meanwhile, a battle in the forest was ongoing. Margaret summoned screams falling upon Rain. Then musical notes appeared around Rain. If Rain cast magic, all of them would explode. He revealed his motivation: art, love, gambling, drinking, drug use. Even knowing it was ordinary, he still sought them. He considered boredom as death. Rain intervened in someone else's affairs. But Margaret found Rain extremely boring. He considered Rain unable to satisfy him. He wanted to meet Mash. He thought Mash would change the world's perspective. Rain transformed. Back to the Bureau of Magic. The employee was very worried for Rain's safety. The principal talked about the stripes on the forehead. At the academy, many had 2 stripes, but very few had 3 stripes. 2 stripes meant their talents were recognized. 3 stripes meant they were surely chosen by the gods. Margaret cried with, "Summer is wonderful." The youngest person with 3 stripes was none other than Rain. After finishing the twisted board game, Mash went outside to breathe fresh air. Everyone thought Mash was sad, because he discovered he had no magic during the game. Then at 120 kilometers per hour, Mash had snuck off to eat cream puffs. But he inadvertently saw the decisive battle. Margaret was extremely excited to fight someone with 3 stripes. He knew that even with 3 stripes, Rain would surely cast magic. So his musical notes would create chain explosions. Rain knew order had forced him into this task, so he didn't care about school matters. Rain also mentioned Mash. He knew that in this world, those born without magic would surely despair. But Mash was different. Mash dared to defy his fate. But Margaret ignored these words. Regarding his house Orca, they weren't interested in saints, but they easily got 10 gold coins from Locks more than anyone else. Margaret imagined applause supporting his performance. His 2 subordinates also took out instruments to play. Margaret attacked with musical notes. The difference between 2 stripes and 3 stripes was the ability to unleash greater power. They could awaken the true form of their wands. Rain then activated his wand. Margaret was quite surprised. All his attacks were pushed back. True power could call upon the god inside the wand. Rain summoned his god. Margaret raised a sound shield to block it, but it couldn't do anything at all. The attack created a large crack. The 3rd stripe was also hidden by Rain. Mash stepped forward and thanked Rain. Rain knew he was bad at motivating others. But he told Mash Thotha was now stepping into a challenge with the world like never before. He should try to create meaning in his challenge. Meanwhile, Margaret was carrying his two subordinates. His hands were injured, but he witnessed the giant wand increasing output power. Even basic magic increased to level 2. He wanted to try level 2 magic too, but he prioritized saving his two subordinates. Previously, Mash had divided the coins earned from House Lang among Finn and Dot. Actually, it was to allow all three to participate in the entrance exam. Finn didn't dare take the exam. Dot couldn't sleep the whole night. She kept waking up to check if everything was ready. Mash's father also knew everyone knew Mash had no magic. He knew Mash had to do it. He apologized and took responsibility. He should have given Mash a normal, full life, but Mash felt very happy. Because the old man was always watching over him. He could go to school, even a little, and have friends. He could also eat many cream puffs. So Mash was very happy. The path to becoming a saint was divided into 3 stages. First was collecting coins. Next was the selection round. Then the final examination. Each person needed 5 coins to enter round 2. Due to Innocent Zero's influence, only 3 coins were currently needed. So Dot and Finn could also participate. Lance had 5 coins. Margaret also participated with 5 coins. Mash entered the arena. Orter appeared and promised to supervise Mash closely. Mash declared he would defeat everyone with what he had. Mash's appearance caused the audience to go wild. Shouts demanding Mash leave appeared as well. Finn knew Mash's life depended on this exam, so he encouraged Mash, but Mash became discouraged and leaned back. Then the exam among 3 houses, with 12 participants, began. It was called the Fear of the Dead. The rule was to find a key hidden in the arena, then escape. The key was inside a luminescent fish bubble. Everyone had to use magic to pop it. They also had to escape before 3 executioners caught them. The official zombie hunt round began. The battle was broadcast live through mirrors. Anyone trying to cheat couldn't. The battle officially started. Everyone began moving. Finn wanted to go home. One participant was spotted by an executioner. He reacted and attacked immediately. But it was useless. The executioners were immune to all magic. Within 2 minutes, the young man failed. There were no clues about the key's location, but they had to search and evade. Everyone planned their strategy. The exam tested handling unavoidable situations. When facing an overwhelmingly strong enemy, running away was the best strategy. After someone was eliminated at the start, the audience criticized the participants' abilities this year. Mash punched an executioner directly. Everyone watching thought, "What the hell?" The executioner held his stomach begging for mercy. But unexpectedly, the executioner recovered. They weren't spirits, so no matter what was done, they would heal. Mash stopped fighting. He ran to find the key. But Mash's body began shrinking. Someone had helped him. His name was Max, a 3rd-year student. He used magic on Mash. Both returned to normal when the executioner left. Max's magic could change object size. He wanted to cooperate with Mash to pass the exam. Max thought the key was within the executioner's area. Mash froze hearing Max's analysis. The plan was to follow the zombies. They moved quietly and stealthily. Suddenly Mash hit a rock, but he used a Michael Jackson stance and didn't fall. Max's reasoning was correct. The executioners were guarding the key bubble. Max began thinking of how to get the key, but his hand reached faster than his brain. The alarm went off. They were chased by the zombies. Max continued planning to get air into the bubble. Mash thought just stabbing it would make it pop. His hand moved faster than his brain again. Both continued being chased, but he couldn't do anything at all. The attack created a huge crack. The 3rd stripe was also hidden by Rain. Mash stepped forward and thanked Rain. Rain knew he was terrible at encouraging others. But Rain let Mash know. At this moment, Mash was stepping into a challenge the world had never seen. So he should try to give meaning to his own challenge. On the other side, Margaret was carrying his 2 subordinates. His hand was injured, but he witnessed a giant wand enhancing the output power. Even basic spells were upgraded to rank 2. He also wanted to try a rank 2 spell, but he prioritized saving his 2 subordinates. The other day, Mash had shared the coins earned by the Lang family to Finn and Dot, so that all 3 could participate in the entrance exam. Finn didn't dare to take that exam. Dot couldn't sleep all night, constantly waking up to check if his preparations were enough. Mash's father also knew that everyone knew Mash had no magic, and he knew that Mash had no choice but to carry out everything. He apologized and took responsibility himself. He should have given Mash a normal and complete life, but Mash felt very happy, because the old man was always watching over him. He had been able to go to school, even just a little, and made friends, and he got to eat a lot of cream puffs. So Mash was very happy. He learned that the path to becoming a saint was divided into 3 stages. First was the number of coins. Then came the selection round. After that, the final choice test. Each person had to have 5 coins to enter round 2. Due to the influence of Innocent Zero, currently, only 3 coins were enough to qualify. Therefore, Dot and Finn could also participate. Lance had 5 coins in hand. Margaret also participated with 5 coins. Mash also entered the arena. Orter appeared and promised to monitor Mash very closely. Mash asserted he would defeat everyone with what he had. Mash appeared, causing the entire audience to panic. Shouts telling Mash to go home also appeared. Finn knew Mash's life depended entirely on this test, so he went to encourage Mash. But Mash had already lost motivation and retreated. Then came the test among the 3 houses. It included 12 contestants and began. It was called the Obsession of the Dead. The rule was to find the key hidden in the arena, then escape from it. The key was inside a lantern fish bubble. Everyone had to use magic to burst it. At the same time, they had to escape from 3 executioners. The official zombie hunting elimination round began. The match was broadcast live through mirrors, so cheating was impossible. The official match began. Everyone started moving. Finn wanted to go home. One contestant was spotted by an executioner. He reacted and attacked immediately, but it had no effect. It turned out these guys were immune to all magic, and so the young man failed in less than 2 minutes. There were no hints about the key's location, but everyone had to search and avoid danger. Each person reasoned and made their own plan. The purpose of this test was that zombies couldn't be affected by magic. So when fighting an overwhelmingly strong enemy, fleeing was the best strategy. The exam wanted to test how to handle unavoidable situations. After someone was eliminated at the very start, the audience criticized the abilities of this year's contestants. About Mash. Mash punched an executioner directly. Everyone watching only knew, what the hell is happening? The executioner clutched his stomach, begging for mercy, but unexpectedly, that executioner revived, because they were not spirits. So whatever you did, they would recover. Then Mash stopped fighting. He ran to find the key, but Mash's body was shrinking. It turned out someone had helped Mash. His name was Max, a 3rd-year student. He used magic on Mash. Both returned to normal when the executioner left. His magic could change the size of objects. He wanted to cooperate with Mash. To pass this exam, Max thought the key was within the range of the executioners. Mash froze upon hearing the analysis from his senior. The plan was made. They would follow the zombies. Both moved quietly and lightly. Suddenly Mash bumped into a rock, but he used a Michael Jackson pose and didn't fall. Indeed, Max's reasoning was correct. The executioners were guarding the bubble containing the key. Max started thinking of a way to get the key, but Mash's hands moved faster than his brain and touched it. The alarm rang. They were chased by the zombies. Max continued thinking about how to put air into the bubble. Mash thought it would be enough to stab it to burst. But again, his hands moved faster than his brain. Both continued to be chased. Next, Max thought of destroying the air tank. Then the bubble would probably fall on its own. But life was not as easy as that. The air tank was destroyed, but the bubble didn't burst at all. Max thought the only way was to use magic to make it explode. But he didn't know which spell to use. Mash looked at the crack and immediately came up with an idea. After the zombies moved, Max enlarged the bubble. Even if the bubble burst, the alarm would still go off. So theoretically, it was impossible to enter. Mash began dancing and moving inside. The audience didn't understand what Mash was doing. Mash pressed his head to the ground. Then he spun his head hip hop never die, and created a vortex. The plan of both was for Max to blow up the bubble. Then Mash would blow air into the nozzle by enlarging it. Abel's group just gaped in astonishment. Lemon had already missed the 4th beat. Then the bubble exploded. The key also appeared, and Mash successfully obtained the key. Of course, a chase immediately followed. As for Lance, he also successfully got the key. By increasing gravity pressure on the bubble, Dot and the other players also got their keys. On the other hand, Finn was still trembling, sitting still. He begged for mercy after hearing the noise. Dot came and promised to help Finn, but Dot's head was already gushing blood. After the celebration together, Mash gave the key to his senior. Because thanks to his senior, Mash was able to get the key. Max admitted Mash was a good person, but he still wanted Mash to keep it, and only helped Mash find the way out. It turned out he had heard Rain talk a lot about Mash. Max knew how to get the key, so next time, he could do it alone. Mash realized this and left as well. Mash thanked his senior very much. Then, Max was immediately attacked. Indeed, Max's bad premonition became reality. The attacker was from the Orca house. His name was Carpaccio. Being the senior, Max decided to confront him. The contestants who had obtained the key also came out. Mash also came out. Finn still had no strength at all. Dot was also seriously injured while helping Finn. Mash recounted that someone had helped him get the key. The last player finally stepped out. Max returned covered in injuries. But the final winner was Carpaccio from the Orca house. He had been very brutal with Max. Then he even stomped on Max's head. He regarded everyone as trash. Mash stepped forward and asked what he was doing. He grabbed a cup of water, then splashed it all on Mash's face. He also regarded Mash as trash. But Mash caught the water into a shake bottle and shook it. Because 3 p.m. was the time to drink whey protein, Mash asserted that even if he was trash, currently, Mash felt no one was stronger than him. Then even the saint got confused when he spoke. Carpaccio was also shocked to hear that. But both were told to stop by the organizers. And now it was time to enter round 2. 3 blocks suddenly appeared in the air, then shone directly down, causing the house uniforms to change color accordingly. And the next test was the life crystals. This time, it would be a team battle. The participants were divided into 3 teams. The rule was to take your crystal and destroy the opponent's crystals. The team whose crystals were completely destroyed would be eliminated. Dot scolded MC for talking too much, causing the teammates to load too slowly. But Finn was worried, because Lance was assigned to the same team as the Orca house. The crystals were also distributed. They were extremely fragile, but before Finn could think, he looked back and saw Dot and Mash had already dropped and broken their crystals. Both put them to rest, but both promised to protect Finn's crystal to the end. Then everyone moved together. Just like before, everything was distributed randomly. Finn didn't understand why the so-called team play was individually assigned. Finn could only curse at this. 13 ancient wands were said to exist in the magical world. They would choose those with innate talent, and bestow blessings unlike any other. All were called Master Key. Mash and Dot only then realized the seriousness of the problem. Finn was determined to protect the crystal with his life. Suddenly, Finn saw a member of the yellow team begging Carpaccio. A knife was pressing on his shoulder. When he touched it, the pain immediately transferred to the other person. Then the yellow team member fainted. Carpaccio continued mocking him. Then he crushed his crystal. Finn thought if he faced him now, he would surely suffer the same. Finn decided to stay put and do nothing. He decided to become a motionless wall. After a while, Finn looked and saw Carpaccio had disappeared. But suddenly, he was behind Finn. Behind Carpaccio was a terrifying manifestation. He also noticed Finn. He didn't understand why a low-ranking student like Finn could come this far. He thought Finn had been sent here by his brother. Finn. He felt irritated seeing a useless trash like Finn. He wanted Finn to hand over the crystal. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Finn could only feel fear. But since he held the lives of the whole team in his hands, Finn wanted to turn and flee. But before he could, Carpaccio attacked. Finn felt extremely cold. His veins and heart seemed constricted. Carpaccio still wanted him to hand over the crystal. Otherwise, the pain would be 100 times worse. As for Margaret, he thought in this exam, only 3 people were notable. First was Mash, then the top transfer student Lance, and Carpaccio. But he realized Carpaccio was just like him. He had no interest in becoming a saint. He thought Order must have made some deal with him. Carpaccio was a prodigy, chosen by a wand that could become a national treasure. As for Finn, he refused to give up. He drew his wand to counterattack. Carpaccio thought he would attack from above, but looking up, there was nothing at all. It was just the earth tiger leaves the mountain move. Fleeing was the best strategy. Carpaccio also followed. Finn then used transformation magic. Carpaccio was teleported back to his original position. The yellow team member from earlier had also disappeared. Now Finn realized this was why he hadn't used magic until now. Finn tried to run far away, but suddenly his legs started bleeding again, and he fell rolling to the ground. Carpaccio quickly caught up. He stomped on Finn's injured leg. Finn was in extreme pain. Then he stabbed repeatedly at his own chest. Everyone now understood that Carpaccio's magic transferred damage. Finn was in pain but resolutely refused to hand over the crystal. Even as a failure or coward, Finn would never betray his friends. Finn stood up and attacked Carpaccio. But he missed. Then a strike hit his heart. Finn also collapsed, but still clenched the crystal. Carpaccio tried to finish by pressing a knife to his neck. No one expected Carpaccio to go for a throat cut. Lemon was very worried, but just as the knife touched his neck, a savior appeared and slammed his face into the wall. Mash apologized for arriving late, but suddenly Mash's head also started bleeding. Carpaccio's manifestation reappeared, making him feel no pain. It turned out his wand was special. Mash continued rushing, delivering a knee strike to his face. But then Mash was countered. Next, Carpaccio stabbed his leg. Mash took the damage. Then his wounds immediately healed. All his pain was absorbed by the wand. This was considered the blessing of Master Key. An ancient wand, its power activated automatically when it chose him. Since birth, he had never felt pain. He was curious about the feeling of pain. But someone like Mash would never be able to do that. He continued stabbing Mash repeatedly. Mash endured the damage continuously. Mash counterattacked, but was always countered back. No matter how much Mash attacked, all was reflected. Carpaccio just stood still. Finn realized this was no longer a normal fight. He continued to insult Mash, then compared him to Finn. A failure since junior high. Always compared to his brother. Such a failure shouldn't even be here. Saint Mash also agreed with that. But Finn's actions didn't anger Mash. Because, despite despair and fear, Finn still dared to stand against someone overwhelmingly strong. So Mash wouldn't overlook this. And the one to face the consequence would be Carpaccio. Then 18 punches of Sen Long were unleashed. Oops, I mean Mash unleashed them. Mash himself also took the damage. Carpaccio thought Mash wanted him to be unable to match the recovery speed. But Carpaccio still felt no pain at all. He considered this tactic useless. Suddenly, he noticed his manifestation cracking. He didn't expect even a divine statue had limits. The statue's face also cracked. After a punch hit Carpaccio's jaw, the statue then transformed. A demon appeared with 4 arms holding syringes. Then a syringe attack was launched. Mash had to continuously dodge. He also kept stabbing himself. After a while, Mash drew out the Rui stick. Oops, I mean the sharp wand. Then Mash bent it with his hand. Somehow it turned into a racket. Mash grabbed the ball. Then he launched a strong strike at the demon. The ball bounced back. While dodging, Mash hit the ball back. But he was playing wall tennis. Mash only hit a single crack point on its face. Gradually, the crack grew larger. And after one smash, the demon's divine statue exploded. Then it was time for Carpaccio to know what pain was. A punch struck straight to his head. No one expected Carpaccio, a prodigy chosen by Master Key, to fail under a simple wall-bouncing tennis trick. Finn apologized to Mash, saying it was his fault. But Mash thanked Finn instead. Because someone clumsy and foolish, who often caused trouble, allowed Mash to stay at school thanks to him. Carpaccio realized this was true pain. The pain intensified with every heartbeat. He didn't expect Finn could endure it for someone else. Now he realized he had been completely outmaneuvered by Finn. Elsewhere, Margaret was facing Aoreo and Tomato. Margaret listened to some rhythm and called it the D note. He explained that strength and pitch intertwined in his mind. He guessed their power only resided in the D note of 7 notes. The higher the note, the stronger the power. With such a ranking, these two surely wouldn't return this spring. He wanted both of them to hand over their crystals and leave. Tomato thought 2 attacking 1 was unfair, and warned not to act arrogantly. Both then attacked Margaret, knowing Margaret's power was like a saint's, but thinking they had worked hard to get 3 gold coins to come here. They assumed they were also in the top. But top rank? They didn't see it. After one counterattack by Margaret, both ended up face down on the ground. He revealed his power resided in the B note, while the combined power of the two only reached the D note. Then Margaret lightly took both of their crystals. He left afterward. Then an announcement was made. The red team was officially eliminated. So the round ended. Dot now realized, what the hell? I haven't done anything yet. Everyone returned together. Mash and Dot jumped to celebrate. Then both were interviewed after the match. But Mash only wanted to eat cream puffs. Suddenly, the entire audience went unusually silent. The principal knew Mash was preparing for the greatest challenge. Margaret had also begun to take it seriously. Seeing him like that, the audience started to be intimidated. Then he checked the rice season had been harvested. Let's go fly kites together, he said. He was eager to move on to the next test. Suddenly, Mash felt pain in his body. But actually, Mike on Mash's chest warned him to be careful. Regarding the principal, Caldo arrived. Caldo knew that facing Margaret would be an obstacle for Mash. The reason Rain became a saint in his second year was that most of the time, Margaret did not take any tests. As head of the talent department, Caldo carefully checked each contestant every year. And Caldo saw Margaret was the most suitable to become a saint. After witnessing Margaret's performance that year, Caldo sided a little with Margaret. Caldo didn't understand why the principal supported Mash, since Margaret almost qualified to become a saint this year. The huge difference between the two proved it. Margaret sat in the waiting room. At this moment, LeBlanc came to find Margaret. He wanted to cooperate with Margaret to make Mash fail miserably. But Margaret snapped his fingers at him. LeBlanc hit his head against the wall. He insisted he could easily defeat Mash. He even quietly informed Order. Order said he would stay silent to let Margaret complete his task. LeBlanc didn't expect Margaret to dare defy even a saint. Meanwhile, Mash was quietly confiding in himself. If you sincerely want to know, we are willing to answer. To prevent the world from being destroyed, to protect world peace, we represent the villains, full of charm and captivating hearts. Dot accompanied with music to make the confession more vivid. Finn was speechless at the two's behavior. Lemon also appeared after missing a few episodes. In short, she had a crush on Mash. Because he was handsome, 6-pack abs, a mansion, and a G63. Done. Finn still didn't understand how he ended up playing with friends like this. And so Finn had to continue witnessing. Lemon and Dot performed a skit. Do you want to go home with me? Number? I love G63. Done. Dot could only fall silent. Listening to her crying. What could he do without a G63? Then it was time to drink whey protein. Missing anything is fine, but not whey was impossible. Suddenly, Caldo appeared. Everyone didn't understand why a saint was here. Mash realized he was the one who had bullied his council before. Caldo wanted to pass the waiting time by playing a little game with Mash to earn some extra points. But Mash refused, wanting a little rest. Dot didn't expect Mash to defy a saint. Dot also stopped him, seeing Mash had gone too far. Caldo also mentioned that he was head of the magic talent department. So anyone wanting to enter had to go through him. If Mash didn't comply, Caldo wouldn't recognize him as a saint. But since Caldo was just head of a small department, he couldn't really enforce it. Hearing that, Mash agreed to play. Caldo also set a condition: if Mash won, he would pass the test. The rule was simple, just looking meant losing. Mash accepted. Finn and Dot thought they were returning to childhood. The game began. Caldo drew with his hand. Instantly, a circle formed at Mash's feet. The rule changed. No more rock, paper, scissors. If after 3 hours Mash didn't look toward Caldo and stayed in the circle, Mash would win. Finn realized Mash had the advantage with this rule. They would play 3 rounds. Avoiding all 3 meant Mash won. Then Caldo pointed to the sky. Mash looked down. Suddenly, an attack appeared, but Mash dodged in time and looked toward Finn and Dot. Caldo admitted Mash was clever. Then continued. This time, both sides. Finn thought Mash had to look to one side. Mash used both hands to counterattack and looked down. Caldo didn't expect Mash could block it with his hands. Then Caldo drew his sword. This sword had been ignited with Amaterasu flames using Mangekyo Sharingan by Itachi. Flames touching it would never go out. Finn saw it was too dangerous and hoped Mash would stop. Then Caldo began the final round. This time, from 3 directions, Caldo rushed to attack Mash continuously. Mash dodged skillfully. Then Caldo attacked from below. Mash grabbed the ground of the circle with both feet. Then leapt to dodge. He then returned the ground to its original place. Suddenly, Mash was distracted by an owl taking a cream puff. So Mash looked in its direction. Mash admitted he had lost. But Caldo didn't count it. Caldo counted it as a tie. Caldo also warned that Mash's current strength would make fighting Margaret difficult. Then Caldo excused himself to leave. Mash realized Caldo had given him leeway, and knew Caldo hadn't used any magic at all. Caldo realized Mash had planned to use his head to push back the sword. Caldo didn't understand why Mash wanted to become a saint so badly. But if Mash stood on his side, it wouldn't be bad. Then the final round finally arrived. This battle would be one-on-one. It would end when one side surrendered or could no longer fight. The first match began. It was between Mash and Margaret. The principal knew this was Mash's greatest challenge. Margaret asserted Mash had to stop here. The fight began, but Mash asked to wait a moment to recharge energy before the battle. With his favorite food, cream puffs. Margaret saw this and also took out food to eat. A giant shrimp. He even took dipping sauce to dip it. Mash told him to use just a little sauce. Too much ruins the taste. But Margaret insisted more sauce made it better. Dot realized this battle was between 2 extraordinary people. Whoever was crazier would win. Caldo knew Orter expected much from Margaret. Orter asserted Margaret would win. Margaret drew his wand. Margaret went first. A surge of power radiated from him. This power was considered equal to a saint's. Mash charged. Margaret attacked with basic magic. Mash used both hands to block it like a volleyball. But it was as heavy as a bowling ball. Mash was pushed back into the wall. Then Mash disappeared. Mash appeared from behind and hugged Margaret. Then a wrestling move was immediately used. It turned out Mash dodged the ball by running backward. With terrifying speed, he dodged the wall collision. Margaret wasn't harmed by Mash's attack. He was extremely excited. Caldo observed and realized that Margaret had created a sound cushion before hitting the ground. Margaret continued attacking Mash. Mash ran around the arena to dodge. Then Mash approached and punched Margaret. But Margaret anticipated it. Both paused their actions. Margaret knew Mash was trying to protect something. It turned out to be a cream puff. Margaret wanted Mash to throw it aside. He didn't want anything obstructing the battle. The audience felt overwhelmed by this survival match. Elsewhere, a mysterious person was heading to find his beloved Mash. He regarded this trip as a leisure outing. Caldo knew Margaret's second form would help him excel. Margaret continued attacking with the P-note punch. Mash tried to block, but it seemed ineffective. Margaret was very confident in his magic, so he kept attacking. Mash was hit repeatedly. Blood spurted heavily. Then Margaret summoned many trumpets onto the arena. They surrounded Mash. He activated them. The sounds began to resonate. It created a massive explosion. Dot and Finn were very worried for Mash. But Margaret was also surprised when Mash was nowhere to be seen. Suddenly, Margaret was pulled to the ground. Mash emerged from below, dusting off Margaret's face. Mash had dug a hole and gone underground before the sound hit. Thus, he completely avoided Margaret's sound attack. Without further words, a free kick came from Messi's position. Oops! It hit Margaret's head. Margaret was flung to the ground. The audience couldn't believe their eyes. Mash jumped onto Margaret. Then 101, fire dogs, oops. 101 punches struck Margaret's face. Margaret spoke up. Mash was quite surprised. Then he stepped back. Margaret assumed his serious form. He chanted a spell. Then he transformed his body. A massive energy radiated. One would think he transformed into something else. But he only returned to his true form. Because he had exhausted himself. Regarding the magic department, Rio was overloaded. Suddenly, an employee came with news. Innocent Zero had begun acting. This time, Innocent Zero would take action. Rio was quite shocked. About Margaret. This form allowed him to unleash innate magic. He executed immediately, appearing suddenly before Mash. He blew into Mash's ear with his purple lips. Mash collapsed. The audience guessed Margaret had discovered Mash's weakness. Hence he made Mash fall. Lemon saw this and felt enraged. Mash counterattacked, but Margaret vanished. He was now sitting in the stands. He had become sound itself. Before he could speak, Mash received a direct kick to the face. He continuously snapped his fingers. With each snap, he could teleport across the arena. Caldo realized the magic allowed him to move at the speed of sound. In other words, he traveled at the speed of sound without magic. To keep up, Mash had to move faster than sound. Mash was continuously attacked. Mash took a strong hit. Mash stood up. Margaret intended a supersonic kick to finish Mash, but Mash unexpectedly dodged. Mash appeared behind Margaret. Caldo realized Mash used sound conduction. In different environments, sound propagates differently. By touching the wall, Mash sensed the incoming attack. Caldo admitted Mash's reflexes were excellent. Margaret's hands were now covered in liquid. It turned out to be his shrimp dipping sauce. So Margaret couldn't snap his fingers anymore. Mash immediately performed a wrestling move. Lance knew it was only a temporary solution, because Margaret hadn't used his full power yet. Then Margaret drew his wand. He activated his level 2 power. A gigantic bell appeared. It was called the Death Bell. Its sound lasted 1 minute, covering a 2-kilometer radius. Just hearing it would be deadly. The only way to stop him was to snatch back his magic wand. Dot thought everyone might be affected, but Lance knew only those on the battlefield would be affected. Then Margaret continued snapping her fingers to move. Mash tried to catch him to get the wand. 30 seconds had passed. The bell was gradually activating. 10 seconds remained. Mash went all out and flipped the entire battlefield. Then he used it to limit Margaret's movement space. Mash charged at Margaret. He only had the choice to go left or right. He saw Mash using his right hand, so he chose the left direction. Mash also pursued. He was very confident he could escape. But suddenly Mash used his pinky to pull him back. Then he dragged him down and grabbed the wand, breaking it in the process. The bell gradually disappeared. Mash was the winner. Margaret accepted defeat. Mash's friends were extremely happy when he won. Margaret acknowledged that Mash deserved this victory. Caldo admitted Mash was very interesting. The principal was also very pleased. Suddenly, the sky darkened with a rumble. Cracks appeared in the sky. Giant dragon monsters appeared. Everyone did not understand what was happening. The group Innocent Zero was riding on their backs. One of them activated Time Stop. Everyone stood still, including Mash. That person also moved down toward Mash. He did not expect to find Mash here. He thought he would never find Mash again. His beloved son. He intended to join forces with Mash. The principal immediately stopped that. He decided not to hand Mash over to Innocent Zero. Even members like Caldo and Order were frozen. In his capacity, the principal would not let Innocent Zero act freely, even if it cost him his old life. A haircutter from Innocent Zero grabbed his scissors. He intended to attack the principal. Then he felt as if a giant axe had sliced through him. He also soiled himself when sensing the principal's deadly aura. Innocent Zero also mentioned not bullying his small allies. The principal asked him what his plan was. He replied that he only wanted to become a more perfect human. Immortal, beautiful, and strong. The principal did not expect him to want such mundane things. But he had taken countless lives. Because he believed his family existed for him. Even Mash had to exist for his benefit. Because Mash was Innocent Zero's son, he was determined to obtain Mash at all costs. Hearing this, the principal laughed. Indeed, both of them were destined to be mortal enemies. Because he knew Mash was the hope of this world. Then the 2 marks appeared on the principal's body. He affirmed, to take Mash, one must step over his corpse. The principal summoned the divine staff Uranus. 2 marks also appeared on Innocent Zero's face. And he summoned the divine staff Kronos. Monsters also emerged from the ground. Innocent Zero needed no one but Mash, so he did not have to spare anyone else. The principal used his power to free some students. The group, consisting of 6 people, was considered the strongest in the arena. He wanted everyone to fight the demons together, and would explain this matter later. Then they all used magic to defeat them. attacking together one after another. Caldo decided to finish them quickly to assist the principal. Caldo admitted they were quite strong. Orter estimated their strength matched 2 stripes. But they were quite durable. After one wave, another appeared. The principal also teleported himself and Innocent Zero elsewhere. He wanted the two to fight without interference. The demons continued to grow in number each day. Suddenly, a giant spiked tower emerged. It turned out that Cell War had summoned it. Stronger demons also appeared. Mash, the saint, had no one playing with him. Margaret guessed this was a trap. They already had a way to take Mash away. Dot did not understand how he knew. He only replied, "Live true to yourself and you'll know immediately." Dot wanted Mash to go up and attack Cell War. Because only Mash could leave at this moment. Mash also advanced toward the tower. Cell War thought, "Great, you're coming up." Mash approached the foot of the tower. Then he used his foot to kick each section of it. The debris even hit Cell War's face. "Hello Mash. Long time no see." Mash asked if he was the older brother sitting next to him in the entrance exam. Cool froze for 5 seconds. Cell War did not expect Mash to have forgotten him. Mash only knew to apologize. "Sorry, I really forgot, bro." The young staff member was on his way with Rio. He curiously asked about the relationship between the principal and Innocent Zero. It was said this magic kingdom was created by a saint. That person's name was Adam. He possessed the strongest dark power. The principal and Innocent Zero were Adam's 2 best students. But this time, Innocent Zero arrived. Surely they had a plan to win. The members still fiercely resisted the demons. Suddenly, Dot discovered a newborn baby. Before he could understand, Dot turned into a baby. The baby transformed into a little sitter. He introduced himself as Sitter Baby. He belonged to the Society of Death Row inmates. His magic could turn others into babies. And the opponent would die if they could do nothing. Dot immediately used magic to attack. But it failed. Then he continued. The strongest spell was unleashed. Running away is the wisest strategy. Dot ran to find Lance for help. Dot said to Lance, "From now on, you've lost me," silently staring at the lonely shadow. Alone, he only had himself. His body was in confusion and ruin. Lance didn't understand what Dot was saying. Lance managed to react before Sitter Baby's magic strike. Lance realized it was he who had turned Dot into this state. Lance confirmed that even as a baby, Dot's face was still ugly as a demon. Then Dot saw a toy and went for it. Not paying attention, Lance also turned into a baby. The two talked, but neither could understand the other. Then both were continuously attacked by demons. The main reason was that both were fighting over the toy. Sitter Baby confirmed, "Now, even a light headbutt will kill both of you instantly." He felt very happy and excited. Suddenly, he was pinned down by Lance using gravity magic. He didn't understand why Lance was like this. But he was still very strong. Despite his power being limited, Lance adjusted by restricting the spell's range of effect. Dot admitted that being the class's top genius was indeed different. Caldo also acknowledged Lance's talent. Both returned to their normal forms. As for Mash, he thought Cell War was the one wearing the cream puff hat. He also pulled down a spiked orb to attack Mash. He mentioned that Abyss was still alive. Then he continued attacking Mash. Dot worried about Mash, because last time, thanks to Abel's puppet, he escaped the attack, but this time, Mash was running on the attack itself, leaving Cell War open-mouthed. Cell War summoned even more magic, but Mash dodged all of it. Then Mash punched Cell War straight in the face. He didn't expect that previously Mash had struggled to stop them, but now everything had changed 360 degrees. Mash now remembered Cell War. Because no attack could trouble Mash a second time. When the principal saw Innocent Zero's face, he knew he had abandoned humanity. Then he reverted to his familiar face from before. He believed he was more human than anyone else. His greed was bottomless. Today, he had 2 tasks. 1. Take Mash away. 2. Ensure the principal dies. Then he used forbidden magic, summoning a coffin wrapped in chains and a mysterious clock. The principal also recognized it as forbidden magic. It was known that Adam Jobs, a legendary mage, with overwhelmingly dominant power for centuries. He also created the foundational theories of magic, and was the head of the magical department. So he had great influence. He used his final years to support those who could not use magic. Noblesse oblige, existing for the weak. He had 3 students, and now, 2 of them were fighting each other. The coffin gradually opened. The principal was quite shocked, because inside was Master Adam. Innocent Zero had succeeded with resurrection magic, but could not bring back consciousness. And through necromancy, he used a puppet to control Adam. That was also his special ability. He attacked first. The principal fought back with all his strength. Innocent Zero knew Master Adam could not resist age, but he had restored Adam's body to its peak condition. The ultimate power of magic. He knew Master Adam had cherished the principal. Master Adam wanted those in high positions to guide the weak, but the principal saw it merely as others protecting themselves. Adam thought that was correct too. To sacrifice to protect others without purpose. He even joked about the principal's naive ideas. But he knew, one day, the principal would realize. The principal destroyed the attack. He saw that the times had changed. The past no longer mattered. What mattered was the present. He affirmed he would not hold back, even against his master, because he knew his current student was the strongest. Necros also knew clearly the identity and greatness of the principal. He continued to attack. Adam's magic could turn everything into nothingness. So he wanted the principal to be engulfed in darkness. He attacked and tore the principal's clothes. The principal realized this was Adam's peak era power. This magic was very special. It could turn the opponent's magic back into nothingness. So once cast, it was almost invincible. He knew the principal didn't use magic because he understood this. He was quite pleased with this wonderful toy. He continued to summon void snakes to attack, but he was pushed back again. Seeing this, he continued to attack. The principal counterattacked. He was stunned to see one arm and part of his head cut off. The principal's magic controlled space, so he sent part of his body to a distant place. Necros decided to counterattack with a massive amount of dark magic, and so it was unleashed. He was sure he couldn't cut through such a large number. But he was wrong. The principal handled them all perfectly. He wondered why there was such a huge gap. Necros refused to lose. He summoned a giant dark orb, then launched an attack. He was determined to finish off the principal. The principal realized he might have misunderstood. So far, all that had happened was the wand's ability. Then he cast real magic. With a mirror of sacrifice, it pierced through the orb, then engulfed both Adam and Necros. The principal also remembered Master Adam's words. He had inherited everything that Master Adam taught. Then it was time to face Innocent Zero. The members continued to eliminate the demons, but they kept reappearing endlessly. Caldo wanted to support Mash, but if he left, everyone in the stands would be in danger. Regarding the battle with Cell War asked Mash about forbidden magic to regenerate the body. Dark magic used an immortal heart, from the hearts of 6 people of the same bloodline. That was why Innocent Zero had prepared 6 children to nurture those hearts. So Mash was considered Innocent Zero's regeneration. Also a perfect part of Innocent Zero's body. Cell War wanted Mash to become a part closest to the saint. But no matter how he explained, Mash did not understand. Cell War seemed to think this demon was slow-witted. Then a cool wind blew. Mash went to sleep. The saint snored peacefully. Cell War did not expect this guy to be a sibling of the Pirate King. Mash woke up, but reality still remained. Mash thought Cell War was his brother. Cell War considered himself a clone created from Innocent Zero's blood. So he was born only to carry out Innocent Zero's plan. A child becoming part of their father's body was the greatest pride. He did not expect Mash to be one of them. Cell War was very angry. So he wanted to slash Mash repeatedly. Before he could speak, he was punched straight in the face. Mash wanted to take the top spot for himself. Cell War knew that since Mash was created from his father, he would also have some power. So Cell War wanted to unleash all his strength immediately. But up till now, it wasn't truly the start. Right, the third mark also appeared on his face. He began releasing power. He unleashed the wand's full power. Magic could develop in countless ways. A massive energy source erupted. Innocent Zero sought Mash only because of the heart. So he decided to slice Mash piece by piece. He attacked. Mash dodged. It was like a diamond disc, able to cut everything, and especially capable of hunting opponents. Mash's face received a light cut. Then MASH continued dodging continuously. MASH decided to charge at Cell War. Next came MASH's hamburger attack. MASH realized Cell War had kept 2 discs for defense. So if he unleashed 4, he would be in trouble. Cell War would slash everyone in the stands. If MASH dared to escape, he began activating the spiked orb. He had unleashed his full power. 1,000 diamond spikes would pierce everyone in the stands. Everything Cell War wanted. Everyone must die. He continued to attack. MASH ran. Cell War thought MASH had given up. But suddenly, MASH said hello from behind. MASH had run a circle to cut off the 2 diamond discs' tails. Cell War realized, could MASH really run at a superhuman speed? Seeing this, he used armed hockey, diamond skin. Guys, the 2 diamond discs returned. MASH was hit and fainted. Cell War confidently laughed at splitting his sorrow. He kept stomping on MASH's head. But MASH's head became a cream puff. Then MASH stood up and fed the cream puff to Cell War. Cell War didn't understand what the hell was happening. His mouth was also full of cream puffs. Then he choked and nearly suffocated. It turned out it was all an illusion. MASH had been choking Cell War this whole time. Because when oxygen is lacking, the body produces hallucinations. Before the strike landed, MASH immediately choked Cell War, cutting off the oxygen supply to his brain. As a result, Cell War was defeated in just 1 second. The diamond orb automatically fell. MASH loved this school, so he definitely wouldn't let that happen. After 81 calamities, the master-disciple duo finally arrived. Actually, the staff members Neri and Rio also arrived at Easton Magic Academy. But before obtaining the scriptures, I'm mistaken again. Before that, Rio had to check his face to see if it had gotten dusty on the way here. If it had, he should go wash his face. Guys, don't want pimples. Suddenly, Neri was affected by Innocent Zero's time stop. Rio didn't understand what was happening. At this moment, Rio noticed that everyone was frozen. Even the birds above. Rio realized that people with low-level power were affected by this magic. Then Rio apologized to Neri and went down to scout. Rio hoped MASH wouldn't be affected like Neri. Rio also saw Caldo and Order. Rio acknowledged that the 2 were extremely strong, though they hadn't invited him out. No, truly deserving of being saints. But actually, there were 2 others who had defeated these demons. No one else but Dot and Lance. And also the newly transferred beautiful girl Margaret. Rio asked Caldo about MASH's whereabouts. At this time, Saint MASH was sitting, sipping tea, accompanied by a fragrant cream puff. With his absurdly strong power, MASH also casually defeated a key member of Innocent Zero. Order also recapped the principal's situation. Caldo knew the principal didn't want students to join the battle against Innocent Zero. So he had teleported Innocent Zero elsewhere. Then MASH asked to go find the principal. Order didn't know how MASH would search. MASH would use his own body to find him. Then the triple step movement was activated. Caldo and Order waited to see what MASH could do. Then Order wanted to interrogate Cell War to understand Innocent Zero's true intentions. Because saints were enforcers of the law in the world. Then Order used his greatest power, his desert power, but it was blocked by a layer of magical shield. All 3 didn't expect he would be protected by magic. Then Cell War disappeared in an instant. Margaret arrived. She guessed that Innocent Zero's faction was still hiding around here. Order also left to check. Rio knew that leaving here recklessly would surely put everyone in danger. So Caldo wanted Lance and Dot to stay together. Returning to the battle between the principal and Innocent Zero. Caldo knew the principal symbolized noblesse oblige, so he would surely act accordingly. Rio knew that the head of an organization must be very responsible. Saint MASH was going through the forest searching for rare agarwood, searching for the principal. At the battlefield, Innocent Zero hadn't seen the principal's power for a long time. Indeed, it was still as strong as ever. Next would be Innocent Zero's turn. The principal also remembered Adam's words. He hoped his master would entrust everything to him. Then the battle officially began. The principal cut off Innocent Zero's ultimate technique, then immediately teleported behind Innocent Zero. An attack was launched at Innocent Zero's blind spot. But unexpectedly, Innocent Zero teleported behind the principal. He didn't expect Innocent Zero to manipulate time. Then Innocent Zero attacked the principal's arm. He used time-aging magic. Then he wanted to take the principal's leg as well. The principal didn't expect Innocent Zero to be so strong that he could exploit openings to attack. He acknowledged him as a monster. Then he decided to unleash his full strength. He decided to cut the entire space around them. But he felt it wasn't enough. So he decided to cut even more. To wipe out Innocent Zero's time-stop magic and all escape routes. Thinking he had won, but unexpectedly, Innocent Zero wasn't harmed at all. While the principal was almost exhausted. Then Innocent Zero continued to attack. The principal was in great pain. He had lost his arm because of him. Innocent Zero didn't want him to keep trying. Because the power gap was too great. He also had a clear goal. So he wasn't willing to sacrifice everything. As for the principal, he only knew how to help others without prioritizing himself. So a person without self-interest is very weak. This was also the result of choosing sacrifice. The principal recalled his youth. He was born with a weak body. He also wasn't outstanding in studies. Especially, he had no friends. In school, there was no place for him. Because of that lack of confidence, he became fearful and didn't want to be rejected by others. So to avoid that, he cut off opportunities to interact with many people. Gradually, he found the world dull, boring to the point of deep pessimism. And when he met Master Adam, he always broke into Adam's house and talked about strange knowledge about animals. Even though he had chased Adam away many times, rain or shine, no matter how coldly he treated Adam, he still tried to reach Adam day after day. One day, the principal asked why Adam went to such lengths. The answer was because he didn't want the principal to be alone. Hearing those words, Adam felt saved. From Adam's words and smile. Back in the present, the principal knew that he survived until now thanks to the help of many people. So he would never abandon those weaker than himself. Then the principal decided to eliminate Innocent Zero. Even if it meant losing his life. Innocent Zero knew that even with 3 marks, very few could access high-level magic. Then Innocent Zero was teleported by the principal into his third space. It was called Uranus Inclination. Innocent Zero knew this was the power to unleash the strength of the gods within the wand. Innocent Zero admitted the principal's power could not be denied by time. The principal knew Innocent Zero was aware of Uranus's power, the god of the sky. In this space, there was no avoiding being cut. Innocent Zero attacked first but was cut. In this space, any magic would be nullified. Then, as himself, the principal decided to deliver a finishing blow. Suddenly, Innocent Zero continued to use time stop. Everything froze. He had stopped time in this space. So no attack could affect him. Innocent Zero was certain victory belonged to him. Then he struck the principal. But was quite surprised. Because the principal's power was still active. It was known that when the wand's inner power is released, if charged to maximum energy, even if the user dies, it would continue functioning. The principal decided to reserve all his power to ensure this time Innocent Zero would be torn apart. Even at the cost of his own life. Innocent Zero didn't expect the principal had planned ahead. Though ready for everything, he still could not fully accomplish his wish. Even if the whole world turned its back on MASH, MASH still tried to live happily and joyfully. This was also the wish the principal desired. To make a world where people could live with overflowing hearts, respecting others and accepting each other's weaknesses. So he was determined to save everyone. From souls, to children in circumstances like his own. He would sacrifice to become a spearhead and lead others. Just as Master Adam had done. Then he activated his power. But after a while, unexpectedly, Innocent Zero was still unaffected. The magic did not activate. He had reversed time. Then he continued to unleash attacks. The principal could not counter all of them. Innocent Zero defeated and grabbed the principal's head. Because he knew this victory was the reason he had lived for himself. The principal realized his fate was harsh. His ideals could not yet be inherited or fulfilled. He didn't expect even such a small belief could be crushed. Suddenly, Saint Mash appeared, and kicked Innocent Zero directly in the knee, distorting his face. The principal was quite surprised Mash could reach here. Mash also answered the question the principal had asked earlier, when facing a strong enemy. What would you do? Of course. Mash would punch their face, using his own fists. Rio didn't understand why the principal's magic wasn't being cast. Caldo thought the time magic had been rewound. Rio wanted to investigate further, so he left this place to Caldo. Then Rio immediately departed. He hoped the principal would remain safe until he arrived. Innocent Zero's face had also recovered. The principal didn't understand what Mash was doing, because he knew Mash was Innocent Zero's target. But Mash was extremely polite, always respectful of elders. Innocent Zero was pleased that Mash was here. He wanted Mash to return with him. Then he used magic to trap Mash and the principal. With body restructuring, Innocent Zero could steal other skills. So this power was actually Master Adam's. Mash pulled the principal out. Innocent Zero continued to attack. He used the principal's own power, which shocked him. Innocent Zero struck, and the principal realized the magic was even stronger than his own. Then Innocent Zero's next target began shifting to Mash. The principal realized, if he got Mash, all hope would vanish. Mash charged forward, punching and kicking Innocent Zero repeatedly. But it had no effect on him. He activated Master Adam's magic and continued. Innocent Zero knew the power gap was too large, so he hoped Mash would surrender and come back with him. But unexpectedly, Innocent Zero radiated extreme pain. The principal knew his magic was exceeding his own endurance. This was the price of greed. He also recalled Innocent Zero's words, and realized he wanted Mash's body. Innocent Zero's current purpose in life was to achieve the perfect state, and Mash was the best material for him. He asserted that those without magic could not survive in this world. This was also something Master Adam could not prevent. And now, the principal was no different. Innocent Zero continued to attack. But luckily, Mash saved the principal again. Yet he knew if this continued, both of them would be in danger. Then Mash decided to punch Innocent Zero using his own body, because Mash believed this would help the world recognize him. Then, the strongest technique of the boundless boar was unleashed again. 36 strategies of retreating is the best. Innocent Zero needed some time to adapt to his own body. He promised they would hang out next time. Oh no. Next time they would finish this for good. The demons gradually disappeared after he left. But the energy from the demons unexpectedly gathered at one point. A giant demon with 77 and 49 heads appeared. Innocent Zero looked at Mash, wondering how much he could handle. Ah no. How to stop it? Innocent Zero retreated, leaving his little one behind. Ah. Haha. The giant. The principal was exhausted and descended. But Rio arrived in time and caught him. Rio was quite surprised at the principal's injuries. Rio immediately called for an ambulance. Ah no. To the magical law hospital. Mash continued through the forest searching for rare agarwood. Hee. Actually going to deal with the giant demon. The time-stop magic was gone. Everyone didn't understand what the hell had just happened. Everyone prepared to face the demon. Abel knew this was caused by Innocent Zero. It began attacking. Debris fell onto the arena. Luckily, Lance stopped it with gravity. Dot complained about the smell. So smelly. Oh my. Margaret also destroyed them all. Everyone began evacuating. The demon started moving inside. Lemon was still calling a fairy to get someone across. Ah. No. Calling Mash. Dot also attacked, but it had no effect. The young man didn't understand where that shield came from. Caldo knew it was a magic nullifying shield, the same one that protected Cell War earlier. Caldo was certain a mage from Innocent Zero's faction was still around, so he had to find and defeat him first. Order was also searching the forest for agarwood. Recently, agarwood had become very valuable. No, actually Order was searching for that person. The escape routes had also been blocked. Margaret and Lance were determined to defeat it. The demon continued advancing. Everyone thought this time they were going to their doom early. Lemon hadn't even gone on his honeymoon yet. Finn didn't know what to do. But unexpectedly, the demon stopped moving. It was suddenly pushed back. It turned out Mash was pulling it back with chains on its body. Both Mash and the demon began a tug of war. Everyone also noticed Mash. Playing tug of war without inviting anyone else was lonely. People still considered Mash useless. Mash's hands were bleeding, but even without magic, Mash was fighting to protect the school and everyone. Then a 720-degree move was drawn, flipping the secrets of April 30th for everyone. Hee. meaning everyone started cheering for Mash. Finn didn't expect this to happen. Someone who was scolded, criticized, almost expelled, now became everyone's hero. Then Mash gave his all. Finn also cheered Mash on. Mash threw the demon and spun it in the air. Then threw it far away, and it exploded. Everyone was saved. Mash was the winner of the tug of war. The battle. Finn was very happy Mash was safe. Lemon admitted her husband was truly skilled. Let's eat. Mash ate. But with cream puffs. The principal also regained consciousness. Rio announced what Mash had done. Dot found the hidden person from Innocent Zero's side. Order also used his desert magic to trap him. Desert magic. Hee. Order knew Caldo sided with Mash, so he no longer accepted Caldo. But Caldo saw Mash's power was truly remarkable. Then Caldo left. Caldo knew that eventually Order would realize that. A few days later, news of Innocent Zero attacking the academy spread across the world. To prevent chaos, the story announced to everyone was that the Saints were the ones who repelled Innocent Zero. But this made many people suspicious. The Magical Law Department also increased security and regulated information. And Mash bore the heaviest burden of this knowledge. Then Mash's entire team went to the beach to relax. Mash and Finn had never been to the beach with friends before. After a while, Dot and Lance also admitted the same. Dot suggested everyone play a watermelon smashing game together. Then Dot brought out the deadly watermelon. Mash took a full bite of its tentacle into his neck. Finn didn't understand why they brought it along. Deep down, Dot still wanted to eliminate Mash. Because life is an endless struggle. So you eliminate whoever you can. Especially the main character. Everyone understood. Hee. Then Mash smashed its head. And it shattered completely. The young man even invited everyone to enjoy it together. Nobody expected Mash to be Innocent Zero's child. Lemon realized everything was going against the peaceful life Mash desired. Suddenly, the principal appeared. Everyone was quite surprised he was here. It turned out he was also on summer vacation. He knew Mash could not experience peace until Innocent Zero was defeated. With an immense source of power, and now becoming a forbidden magic user, it could be said that Innocent Zero was currently the strongest mage in the history of the world. Furthermore, his 5 superhero siblings were all top-tier mages. He knew their strength was equal to his own. At this rate, he feared the whole world would be destroyed. He didn't expect Innocent Zero to have accumulated so much power. The chance of winning against Innocent Zero was now 0. But he believed Mash could surely overcome it. Through training his body, Mash had sharpened his skills over time. Mash gained lightning-fast power, endurance, and strong will. Especially an irrational source of power. This was considered the key to overcoming the strongest magic. Mash arrived. Mash knew that even facing the strongest mage, the chance of winning with magic was 50%. But with his muscles, it was 100% pure milk. No 100% victory. The principal knew the most important thing was Mash's spirit. Always optimistic, never abandoning the weak. And his heart was where his power resided. He wanted Mash to turn the impossible into possible. Everyone relied on Mash. Mash promised he would succeed. And punch the bad guys' faces. Then he would graduate with his friends. Lance mentioned the upcoming final exams. The Saint froze at that statement. A police officer also came to speak with Mash's father. His father confirmed that Mash would overcome everything. Then everyone let Mash try the tests. The results: Magic language, 30 points. History, 10 points. Pharmacology, 3 points. Math, 10 points. In practical exams, Mash passed. But in written exams, he was terrible. The young man just wanted to go home. But Dot wanted to help Mash. Then Dot shot a 16-line spell and forced Mash to pay 12 billion. Then the Saint Mash continued to get zapped. Dot would teach Mash. Mash replied, "Teach me," biting his tongue as he said it. First was Lance, then Lemon, then Dot, next was Finn, then a volcano erupted. Mash's head exploded. His hair transformed into a real mushroom head. Then Mash began to focus on studying, but under the supervision of everyone. Still using the strongest technique from the series, 36 strategies of retreating is the best. Lance didn't want everyone to chase after him, because he knew Mash would run to relieve stress when in trouble. Finn decided to search for Mash. Finn looked for Mash in many places but found nothing. Then Finn discovered the young man had buried himself underground. Mash apologized, because studying was something he could not manage. Finn was not used to what Mash said, because he knew Mash would never give up, no matter how impossible the challenge. Finn wanted to graduate with Mash, so he encouraged Mash to try his best. Then Mash surfaced, promising to give his all. Mash returned, apologizing for running away, and asked everyone to teach him once more. Then Mash's learning process continued. Mash studied very diligently, from morning till night, day after day, until the exam day arrived. Mash began to take the test. The young man could only cry at the exam paper. Hen Mash was also called by name. Everyone anxiously waited. He always showed a rebellious attitude toward the academy. His grades were usually very poor. But this time was different. The headmistress noticed that Mash had made an effort. Mash crowed loudly. Then everyone got a beating for making the saint explode. The captain came to deliver the news. Even though he spoke a language I didn't understand, I still reviewed it. But Lance understood. After reading the news, many people flocked to the school grounds. They were protesting to have Mash expelled. People didn't want an incompetent person studying at the top academy. Then it was Lemon's turn to speak. She started saying bitter words. Then opposed everyone else's opinion. People didn't want someone like Mash to become a saint. Lemon, claiming to be Mash's future wife, continued to argue with everyone. Then Dot appeared. Dot declared herself Mash's manager. Dot read statements on behalf of Mash. Then concluded with action. "I've tolerated you for too long," she said. Then the two transformed into a cat and a lion to silence everyone. Someone threw a stone, and it hit Lemon in the face. Mash stepped out, but Lance stopped him. Lemon decided to take responsibility with her husband. She didn't want Mash judged for such trivial reasons. So no matter how many stones or criticisms were thrown, Mash remained the kindest person. The one throwing stones thought if he caught Mash, he would become famous. He considered incompetent people as unworthy of being human. Then he judged Lemon the same way. People also threw stones in support. Mash appeared in time and caught all the stones. The stone thrower wanted everyone to catch Mash. He summoned an iron plate to trap Mash. It was 15 centimeters thick. Before it could explode further, Mash destroyed it. He didn't understand what the heck happened. He never expected that something meant to trap monsters could be destroyed like that. Then came more spell attacks. But this time nobody paid for them. Mash even threw them back at him. Mash declared to everyone, "I will be the leader in this magical world, even if I don't have magic." The principal also appeared. He spoke to everyone about Mash's fate. After the exams, the magical law department would make a decision. He knew Mash had found good friends. Friends who dared to fight and stand up for Mash. And this was truly wonderful. Since entering the school, Mash realized he had received so many important things. So Mash was certain he would become a saint. The selection exam had entered the final round. Mash was cheered on by his amazing friends, and supported by senior students who recognized him. Connections formed through facing opponents. So no matter what happens, Mash would punch everyone. Today's video ends here. Thus, 2 seasons of Muscle Punch in the Magical World have concluded. Thank you all for watching my video. Remember to like and follow my channel to wait for the next season. Love you all forever.